Celsius, then there would be a large storage tank where that liquid would be stored. It would be the equivalent of 1 billion cubic feet of natural gas. Then there would be a vaporization plant where, when the company needed to take that gas out of storage, that vaporization plant would warm the liquid gas up to become natural gas in the gaseous form and put it on the pipeline as needed. As currently proposed, the project would also be able to receive LNG from trucks and offload LNG onto trucks. Next, please. So I'd like to go through a little bit of a background behind this proposal, then summarize the proposal, and then get into a little bit of the ground rules for the public comment session here today. So generally, the gas company locks in or sets the price of natural gas for quantities that they know are going to be consumed, which they would call the base gas amount for winter months. It's typically about 70% of the gas volume. In addition, they procure quantities of gas on very cold days above that. And the way they procure that is either through spot market gas purchases or through withdrawals from storage. The gas company has asserted that storage withdrawals can provide as much as half of that swing gas or additional gas amounts on very cold days, which helps to reduce the amount that they're purchasing on the spot market. They currently have leased storage capacity at the Keystone Natural Gas Storage Facility near Kermit, Texas. Next, please. During Winter Storm Uri, February of 2021, Keystone was unable to deliver all of the gas nominated by the New Mexico Gas Company, which forced them to purchase more gas on the spot market than they would have otherwise. And because the price was so volatile and so high, that was costly. And so following this event, the PRC asked New Mexico Gas Company to present options for how to prevent a recurrence of what happened. They hired a consultant, did a study of their options, and the result of which is that they favored the construction of an LNG storage facility. Next, please. So this is a map of the New Mexico Gas Company system. What you see in red is the company's transmission pipeline. The blue and the green are interstate transmission lines, and then sort of the orange areas are their service territories. Kind of hard to see on this screen. There's a dot that says proposed LNG facility location in blue, sort of near where two of the pipelines cross near Albuquerque. Next, please. And so this is something that's on the company's website. It's a better, a closer view of where the project would be located. I don't have a pointer, unfortunately, but to the left of the number 1 there's sort of a block, and that's the proposed location. So looks like a couple miles north of the Double Eagle Airport, maybe 3.5 miles from the Volcano Vista High School, 3.5 miles to the west, as far as I can tell. And the point number 1 on Atrisco Vista Boulevard, looking west, is something I want to show you in this next slide. If we could advance to the next slide. And so this is from the company on their website. The top is a picture of what it looks like now from that point at Atrisco Vista Boulevard looking west. And the picture on the bottom is a rendering of what it would look like if the LNG facility is built. You can see a white tank there. Next, please. This is a schematic, a site plan of what the site would look like. And there's a large tank in sort of the upper left corner of that. Next, please. And I don't want to go through this in detail, but the main thing to realize is that the process is that the facility would receive gas from New Mexico Gas's transmission line, liquefy it, store it in this large tank, and then it would be available to withdraw as needed through some LNG pumps, and then the vaporizer would turn it back into the gaseous form. Next, please. So what is the company claiming would be the operational benefits of this facility? The company asserts that the facility would be more likely to perform as required during a winter storm. It would be controlled by the company, and it would be weatherized as needed. Also, the company proposes that this facility would be located on their transmission system, so they would not be dependent on interstate pipelines to receive gas from storage. Also, the company has stated that it could receive gas within 1 hour after deciding it's needed from this LNG storage facility, whereas the current arrangement with the Keystone facility in Texas is that they have to nominate hours ahead of time when they want it out of storage, and then there has to be coordination with the interstate pipeline. So it certainly is much more than 1 hour is involved. Also, the company asserts that the potential for service interruptions, as were experienced in 2011, February 2011, would be reduced because of these operational benefits. Next, please. Now, to discuss the anticipated financial impact if this facility were to be built. The company has stated that the anticipated cost of the facility is $180 million. The estimated annual operation and maintenance is $3.4 million. The bill impact, as calculated by the company, would be $3.13 per month extra, or about a 3.2% increase. One thing to note about this is that as the facility depreciates over time, the charge to the customer would go down. So that would be the initial amount, and it would decrease over time. Also, the company has proposed that they would cease leasing capacity in the storage facility in Texas when the LNG storage facility is fully operational. It costs the money. It costs the company money each year to lease that capacity, and as proposed, they would stop leasing the capacity, which would further lessen the rate impact to customers. Also, the cost to lease the storage capacity at the Texas facility is not fixed and isn't under the control of the company, and the company foresees those prices to increase over time. Also, to the extent that the facility is more reliable in winter storms than the Texas facility, the amount of spot market purchases in winter conditions may be reduced. Next, please. So I'd like to introduce a few of the folks here from the PRC. Patrick Rodriguez, our press information officer, Miguel Lujan, Robert Lundin, Alejandro Martinez, Mackley Kirol, Jennifer Baca, Scott Cameron. I'd also like to ask that anyone representing the parties introduce themselves, any attorneys or any company representatives, if you wouldn't mind just stating your name, please.
So, Brian Hackley, I'm behalf of Mexico Gas Company. I'm joined with today Gerald Wassine, Tom Bullard, Anita Hart, and Amy Barry from the gas company.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any other representatives of other parties present?
Hello, this is Mike Espirito. I'm with the Roswell Chaves County Economic Development Corporation. Okay,
great, thank you. Next slide, please, Mr. Lujan or Mr. Rodriguez. So let's go over some of the public comment procedure. So we have people both here in the Sandoval County Commission chambers. We're grateful to the Sandoval County Commission for lending us their chambers for this hearing. We also have people on Zoom. For the folks on Zoom, when you complete your comments, we'd ask that you exit Zoom and watch on the YouTube feed. I think that folks in the room have signed up on the sign-up sheet as you came in. We're going to set a 3-minute per person maximum speaking time. We will need to enforce that because we want to be sure that everyone is heard. And so if you hit the 3-minute mark, I'm going to say time, and that'll be your cue to finish your remarks, finish the sentence, because we do need to adhere to that time so that we're respectful of everyone's time and right to say what they think. If the 3 minutes is insufficient, we'd ask that you submit electronic filing with your comments. You can just send an email to prc.records@state.nm.us, including the docket number for this case, which I mentioned previously as 22-00309-UT. You can also sign up to speak at a regular commission open meeting. We will alternate between speakers here in the room and Zoom. I think we'll probably take maybe 5 people here in the room and then take 5 people on Zoom and alternate in that fashion. We do have a court reporter who is taking notes, who is transcribing. And so we would ask that you speak slowly and clearly. If you're on Zoom, if you could unmute, state your full name and any group affiliation that you'd like us to know about. At this time, I'd like to ask my fellow commissioners if you'd like to make any comments.
Yeah, thank you. Pat O'Connell, as introduced by Commissioner Ellison, one of the 3 PRC commissioners, and Grateful, first of all, Sandoval County for giving us use of this facility. It looks to be a great place for you to come and tell us what you think about this proposal. And so I'm very much looking forward to hearing what everyone has to say. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Aguilera, the third commissioner at the PRC. I want to echo the statements that the chair and Commissioner Ellison made earlier, and especially that we do value your feedback. So looking forward to hearing your comments. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And for your information, we do have a clock on the screen on the wall here. And as you're making your remarks, please just keep in mind your time, which we're going to show for both people here in the room and on Zoom, I hope. So with that, we have some microphones up front here. If you'd like to make comments from where you are, we can facilitate that as well. So please just raise your hand. So why don't we start off with taking maybe 5 comments from folks here in the room.
Good afternoon. I'm Terry Cole, President and CEO for the Greater Albuquerque Chamber of Commerce. I'm here to testify in support of the liquid natural gas plant in Bernalillo County. It is important not only to our economy, but also to natural gas customers. It solves a problem our utility and consumers dealt with in 2011. NMGC was forced to shut off gas to customers because Texas was unable to deliver its promised supply. During late January and early February in 2011, Albuquerque saw 88 consecutive hours below freezing. As demand increased and supply dwindled, the gas company made the tough choice of cutting off 28,000 customers to avoid catastrophic system failure. According to the FERC, valves had to be shut off to 10 New Mexico cities just to keep gas flowing to the rest of the state. And the main reason, New Mexico had no in-state supply of stored natural gas. A 2012 PRC investigation cited the failure of upstream industry segments to supply and deliver scheduled gas to New Mexico. And a 2011 LANL evaluation presented to the PRC that had scheduled gas deliveries been received, no service interruptions would have occurred. A FERC study on the shutoff stated that all utilities should use the lessons learned to ensure reliability in extreme weather. NMGC studied the possibility of a liquefied natural gas storage facility after the 2011 incident. They did not proceed with the project, which would have seen LNG trucked in and out of the storage plant. The proposal came out of another major weather event in 2021, where there were major spikes in the price of gas. 2.5 years later, customers are just finishing a monthly surcharge to pay off those high prices. Also, NMGC will create the LNG site, taking gas from and returning it to the existing pipeline system. There are no plans to truck LNG into this facility. Therefore, there will be no increased truck traffic. From an economic development standpoint, the unpredictable cost and supply of natural gas impedes and deters business relocations and growth. The bottom line, New Mexicans should not have to face shutoffs and price gouging because of extreme weather. They deserve safe and reliable gas supplies. The Greater Albuquerque Chamber of Commerce encourages commissioners to respect recommendations of its own staff and the previous findings of LANL and FERC and allow this proposed LNG storage facility to be built. Thank you.
Perfect timing. Thank you so much for your comments. Yes, please.
My name is Mitchell Friedman. I live in, sorry. My name is Mitchell Friedman. I live in Rio Rancho. I was a lawyer for over 35 years, representing mostly corporations. I was a school teacher for 3 and now retired. And I was published in the August 13, 2023 Albuquerque Journal against this proposal, if you may have seen it. I'd like to add a few things. First, the Albuquerque Journal itself, a week later, admitted that the problem of a risk of an explosion is real. And they noted that because they can't deny that there have been multiple explosions. But then people try to say, well, this is a storage facility and not a larger place. But the 2014 explosion that occurred in Washington State, that was a storage facility. So that's not going to save it. The New Mexico Gas Company likes to say, well, we need to have it here because this is where a good part of the state lives. It's densely populated. But the federal government has already said that's a dangerous idea. And this state they already have over 12,000 square miles of 12,000 feet of pipeline already in this state. New Mexico Gas has. So it's not a question that they can't put it anywhere else. They can clearly put it in the southeast portion of the state where there's miles and miles and nobody's there. So, but thirdly, they have a legal obligation they claim to their customers, but they actually have a legal obligation to the shareholders of Emera, which is the company that owns them. And they pay the highest dividends among companies according to Forbes. So they have plenty of money to do this. They don't have to make anybody else pay this. But then we get to really, is this necessary? Natural gas demand has been flat for 2 decades. Banks, according to Bloomberg in 2021, are moving away from gas. They're going towards renewable energy. I'm really concerned we're going to build this plant, and even if it doesn't blow up in 10 years, it's going to be another stranded cost, just like coal. And we don't want the taxpayers and the ratepayers to have to bear the burden. And we just heard that somehow that businesses are not going to come to New Mexico if this thing doesn't get built. That's ridiculous because Rio Rancho is growing. And people don't want to live or put their business near a liquefied natural gas plant that could blow up. The way to go is 3 things. The first thing is New Mexico Gas has to continue to improve its contract management. It did so, and in 2021, it was able to survive the cutoff that occurred during the winter. And the second thing, if I can just say, is they could spend that money. They could spend that money of $200 million to help low-income people in this state to get more energy efficiency in their homes. And third, if we push for electrification of new buildings that are commercial buildings, again, they're not going to need this. So I thank you for your time, and I appreciate you giving me extra 20 seconds.
Thank you, sir. You got started a few seconds late because of the microphone, so happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you and good afternoon. My name is Bruce Stidworthy. I'm the chairman of the board of the Greater Albuquerque Chamber of Commerce. And perhaps more importantly, as it relates to my testimony today, I'm the president of Bohannon Houston, and I'm a registered professional engineer in the state of New Mexico. I was asked to testify before you today by the gas company, and I met with gas company representatives in order to learn more about the project in preparation for my testimony today. The gas company has followed a very standard process for the development of this project. At the request of this commission, they embarked on a process to improve reliability during cold weather events. They began by studying alternatives, and that effort resulted in the liquefied natural gas facility being proposed and discussed today. That study identified that that was the best alternative, and it was performed by an outside engineering consultant with appropriate expertise. Next, they hired a well-qualified outside consultant to perform a preliminary design, and finally, they engaged competitive firms to prepare final design. In addition, they hired a third-party safety expert to review the work of the primary designer. This is a best practice. As a professional engineer with experience in a variety of infrastructure projects, I can say with confidence that the process that the gas company has followed is the same as other agencies and government entities follow, and it can be expected to result in a quality facility that will serve ratepayers for decades to come. Furthermore, the project is sited in a remote location, and the gas company has acquired sufficient property to allow generous setbacks. In addition, there are about 100 similar facilities owned by natural gas utility companies around the United States. Those facilities have brought reliability benefits to the affected ratepayers and have operated safely for decades. I'm not an expert in the design of this type of facility, but there are 3 important factors that give me great confidence that this facility will be safe. 1, the design process as described. Number 2, the project's remote location and large setbacks. And number 3, the successful track record of similar facilities. In addition to having confidence that the project will operate safely, the project also has obvious economic development benefits stemming from the $180 million capital investment and the fact that the project will result in numerous permanent New Mexico-based jobs. This project makes sense with regard to safety, reliability, savings for the ratepayers, and with regard to the economic development benefits it affords. For all of those reasons, I urge you to support this project and move it forward expeditiously.
Thank you for your comment. Let's take a couple more people from the room.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. John Beltry, Sandoval County residents. Appreciate you being here and doing your presentation today. I appreciate the 3 minutes. I'm used to being on a 2-minute clock, so I won't use 3 minutes. I would like my comments for the record. I know they're being recorded. I'm 100% against the liquefied natural gas plant that would be anywhere near a metropolitan area in New Mexico. I have 33 years of telecom infrastructure experience. I've been retired for 10, and I have built infrastructures across 14 states. New Mexico Gas Company is seeking to build a liquefied natural gas storage plant for $180 million. And under this plan to New Mexicans, they would be paying a lot more for 30 years, but getting very little benefit in return. More dollars that I'm concerned about is proposed LNG facility claims operational benefits. However, the benefits don't outweigh the risk to the people within the metropolitan area of New Mexico. Do you see a theme here? I'm not opposed to what you're doing. I'm opposed to where you're doing it at. Okay, I was at the Bernalillo County meeting when that board turned it down, and now it's here in my county. LNG derives from frac methane gas and is chilled to minus 260 degrees Fahrenheit, poses significant risk to the public safety and the environment. The proposed facility includes liquefaction, storage, and regasification components for injection into New Mexico gas customers' existing distribution pipelines. I'm concerned about the traffic. We have enough traffic right now. I have a minute. The application also anticipates transportation of LNG by trucks to other parts of the state, which could lead to increased traffic and danger along the congested transportation corridors. Furthermore, LNG's production lines are a riff with heavier hydrocarbons such as ethane and propane that prevent a higher risk of exploding. You're only going to create about 8 to 10 jobs full time over this period of time. It's not a lot of jobs coming into this community. I strongly encourage you not to move forward on this proposal. And I would encourage you not to move forward anywhere in the confines of the metropolitan Albuquerque area, including Rio Rancho, due to the risk, the cost, and the danger involved. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. It's a little bit different from down here than up there. Well, today I speak to you as a citizen, as a retired Air Force officer, retired nuclear weapons officer who understands stringent surety and safety requirements, as well as a combat veteran and a county commissioner here in beautiful Sandoval County, and I welcome you to our county. As a fellow policymaker, I understand the responsibilities entrusted to us by our constituents. It can be challenging to maintain a future focus when setting policy. As someone who lives in this area, in Southern Rio Rancho, and cares about the communities surrounding the proposed site, I feel confident in the risk mitigation safety measures that New Mexico Gas plans to implement to secure the safety of our community members when building and operating this facility. Additionally, I understand the company has already started meeting with first responders and made commitments to help with specialized training, since this will be the first facility of its kind in our state. New Mexico Gas has and will comply with the very stringent state and federal regulations, and they will be constantly monitored with continuous oversight. I have also taken the time to understand the need for and the benefits of the proposed facility being built here and close to New Mexico Gas Company's customers. This new state-of-the-art facility will help New Mexicans to reliably heat their homes and businesses during a time of record inflation and high energy costs. The energy is safe and affordable and environmentally friendly. Liquid natural gas produces 40% less carbon dioxide than coal and 30% less oil, which makes it the cleanest of the fossil fuels. It does not emit soot, dust, or particles, and produces insignificant amounts of sulfur dioxide, mercury, and other compounds considered harmful to the Earth's atmosphere. I ask you to approve this facility that will create jobs and economic development and reduce energy costs to our fellow New Mexicans. I appreciate your time and consideration in making this important decision for our state and constituents in the state of New Mexico. And again, welcome to Sandoval County. Happy to have you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Let's take this gentleman in the plaid shirt, and then we'll go to our Zoom people.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners, for your time. I'm glad to be here, and we have a good turnout. I'm happy to see that. My name is Jim McKenzie. I'm a resident of Bernalillo County, although I did live for almost 30 years in Sandoval County up the hill here. I am here today to oppose this facility by the gas company in New Mexico. I want to make a couple of brief comments initially, and that is, I'm not going to call this euphemism of natural gas. This is methane. Natural gas is a term, I mean, we all know what it means, but it hides the fact that we're talking about methane and all the implications of methane. The main one is that methane is an enormously powerful greenhouse gas. We know that it's 80 times as potent as carbon dioxide, and these types of facilities we're talking about inevitably leak. It's not, they're designed not to. They do leak. And so they have increased the carbon footprint of our use of methane. Then going forward, I have reviewed the application for CNN from the gas company. And the gas company, in my reading of it, is assuming at least a flat demand curve. They're not making allowances for a fall off in demand. Yet we know that there is a big push in this state and around the country to reduce the use of fossil fuels. So our governor has committed the state to move expeditiously off the use of fossil fuels, right? The IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, has a large amount of money set aside to subsidize the move to heat pump technology in homes and existing homes and businesses, as well as new construction. So if we were to look at our crystal ball today, we would see a decrease over time in the use of natural gas. Now, if you have a 200 million, and I'm going to call it rounded up because the 180 million is an estimate. So I'm going to round it up 10% to 200 million. If that goes on the rate base, as we could assume, if you give them a CNN, the next step is to get it on the rate base, then that would be on the rate base for decades. In a situation where the demand is decreasing, that leaves stranded assets. And it leaves, as people exit the gas market, it exposes the rest of the utility users to higher costs. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Now let's switch to folks on Zoom. Mr. Rodriguez, if we could have the first speaker.
Yes, Commissioner. And just want to remind those who are providing comment on Zoom to, after you provide comment, to log off and to go to and watch the YouTube feed, which has been provided in the chat. And I will start off with Bill Lee. Go ahead, Bill, if you're there.
Thank you. Able to unmute there. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Bill Lee, President and CEO of the Gallup-McKinley County Chamber of Commerce, and I appreciate you affording me this time. I will try to keep my comments brief in the interest of time, and will do my best not to repeat those points that were already made from those who are standing in favor of this great facility. After devastating gas supplies and rate increases in our community due to weather conditions and shortages all but stop the flow of natural gas, we are extremely happy to see the initiative come forward. Our chamber sees New Mexico Gas Company as a very good partner in our community. Last year, when we saw spikes in rates, the gas company worked hand in hand with us to help every member of our community who asked to find solutions that worked for their families and businesses. We see the Gas Company of New Mexico as a community member who will work to see that the most stringent safety protocols are followed and that this facility moves forward in a very significant and very safe way. In this time of uncertainty in businesses and homes across our state, we see this facility as a reliable way forward that is not only safe, clean, but also efficient. It's the source of energy we need right now. For these reasons, and for the many others that I will not repeat again in the interest of time, the Gallup-McKinley County Chamber of Commerce and the over 300 businesses we represent and the families they employ strongly encourage the commission to support this facility and the benefits it brings to not only our business community, but to the many households it will help to sustain with reliable, efficient natural gas. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next, we have Roberto Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, commissioners, and I'm State Senator Roberto Bobby Gonzalez from Taos area, and I don't have any notes. I'm just going to be speaking from experience and what I have experienced as far as what has happened. In the 29 years that I have served in the New Mexico legislature, we have had from time to time where we have to make some very tough decisions. Now, in 2011, and this is where we faced, that inclement weather. And in some areas, including in this area within the Taos region, the temperature was 27 below zero. And we went for quite a few days with that kind of temperature. And we were very fortunate that the grid from Kit Carson Co-op, the electric part, that they were able to support, the backup to have some heat for some of all the homes and everyone within the area. Now, one of the things to me that is very, very important is we were very fortunate that there wasn't anyone that lost their life because, of the extreme cold weather. Now, what I have witnessed shortly after that, the gas company went and they did a reroute system right along the Rio Grande River by the Pilar area. And traveling through that road almost daily, I saw the efficiency and the kind of work that they were doing, also the quality of equipment that they were using. And to my knowledge, that they didn't have one single day that they were not able to operate. So, their safety part and how they handled that project was extremely remarkable, and it was done and it was finished within the time frame that they had worked with. So, I know that the quality of work that can be placed, with this facility, that they will do their best. I strongly support it. I strongly support it because we can't afford to witness another winter like that. And we were very fortunate, as I mentioned, we didn't have any casualties, but things can change. And we need to support that infrastructure. We need to have that for areas, within New Mexico that, are users of the natural gas. And we do need to have that storage that is available, on a very timely fashion when emergencies come. Within that, thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next, we have Chelsea Canada.
New Mexico Public Regulation Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to share spoken and written comments on behalf of the New Mexico Chamber of Commerce. My name is Chelsea Canada, and I am the Director of Public Policy at the New Mexico Chamber of Commerce. NMCC supports the New Mexico Gas Company proposal to build and operate a liquefied natural gas storage facility for a few different reasons. We believe this proposal will enhance system reliability and help protect nearly 1.3 million New Mexicans from future natural gas price spikes and potential supply disruptions. Many of us across the state use natural gas in our homes and businesses for space heating, water heating, and cooking, among other uses. In fact, New Mexico Gas Company services reach most of New Mexico, including providing service in 27 of the 33 counties. Expanding this infrastructure to New Mexico is economic development and has many benefits to citizens of the state, including increasing resilience and reliability of the energy grid. The proposed LNG facility will help ensure reliable gas supply, and customers and New Mexicans will benefit with the proposed LNG facility through increased safe, reliable, and resilient resources to customers. Current storage facilities based in Texas have not been reliable during extreme weather events, and this project would address this risk. This proposal also has safety at the front of mind. The facility will incorporate decades of industry best practices during construction and operation while keeping in mind the surrounding environment. Additionally, the proposal will help control the impacts of price volatility on customers. This storage solution can allow the company to stock up with cheap natural gas in summer months and then draw on those supplies as needed in winter when prices are much higher. Improvement in gas supply reliability can buffer price spikes caused by extreme weather events and allow the company to redirect resources as necessary. The Chamber and our statewide members support efforts and policies to enhance reliability of our energy infrastructure. Upgraded and modern energy infrastructure like storage facilities helps facilitate reliable generation and distribution of energy products to market. Efforts like the one proposed by the New Mexico Gas Company will provide great economic development benefits to the state. Thank you for the opportunity to provide these comments.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Rodriguez, let's take two more people from Zoom and then switch back to folks in the room.
Sure. Next, Rhiannon Samuel.
Thank you, Commissioners, for this opportunity to speak. My name is Rhiannon Samuel, and I'm the Executive Director for NAIOP New Mexico. NAIOP New Mexico is the Commercial Real Estate Development Association for the entire state. And beyond commercial real estate, we also do homes. We have home builders that are very fairly represented throughout our membership. And what we push for at every level of government is predictability, transparency, and efficiency. Those are the three things that equal success for us to grow our economy, to grow our built environment, to have more homes for people. And what this application does is it creates that predictability that we need in our community. Utility service is a critical component of every development, ensuring that end users have affordable, reliable energy that is which is paramount to the success of a complete project. Lawmakers have required the New Mexico Gas Company to deliver reliable, affordable natural gas to their customers. And in my experience, the New Mexico Gas Company has fulfilled their obligation to customers. But there have been a couple of times where providing gas service was challenged by winter storms. After Storm Uri, and specifically the gas or the price spike that burdened the customers, your predecessors at the PRC asked the New Mexico Gas Company to troubleshoot for future extraordinary events. Over the past decade, common denominator here for these situations have been a strain on the facility, on the utilities supply and demand system, with us using an out-of-state LNG storage. By building, owning, and operating an LNG storage facility here in New Mexico, near pipelines that service the majority of New Mexicans, it just makes sense. And therefore, on behalf of the NAIOP Board of Directors, I urge you to approve the New Mexico Gas Company's application for Certificate of Need and Necessity. Arguably, there is no greater need in our state than energy security. Thank you for this opportunity to speak in support today.
Thank you for your comments.
And next, Michael Swearingen. Go ahead and speak, Michael.
Afternoon, commissioners. Thank you for listening to the community on the topic of the proposed LNG plant on the west side. My name is Michael Swearingen. I live in Northwest Albuquerque, about 4 miles from this proposed LNG plant. I have taught the science of global warming and climate change for 12 years. My students have spoken to thousands of other students, parents, teachers, and church members about climate change. To me, the bottom line is we should not build any new fossil fuel infrastructure like this LNG plant. We need to stop investing in fossil fuels. Here were some of the global heating effects just this year. Pittsburgh had the dirtiest air in the world for a couple of days from the smoke from wildfires in Canada. The ocean water around Florida hit 100 degrees. In Mexico, a tropical storm that weather forecasters thought would peter out became a Category 5 hurricane in 24 hours due to the hot ocean water. In our neighborhood, Phoenix, Arizona had 31 straight days of temperatures of 110 degrees. Hundreds of millions of people who have to work as farmers and construction workers near the equator are now getting kidney damage from high temperatures and high humidity. There's some good news. The world has never invested so much in solar panels, wind turbines, electric vehicles, battery storage, and new power grids. The bad news, carbon dioxide and methane concentrations are still going up. Why? Because the world is using and burning more fossil fuels at the same time we're building renewable sources of energy. Right next door to this proposed LNG plant is a safe, green, renewable 3,000-acre solar panel farm. This is the future. Let's invest in our future. Burning fossil fuels must become a thing of the past. Please turn down this LNG project on the west side in my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Let's switch back to folks here in the room.
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Sharon Argenbright, and I am a resident of New Mexico for 30 years. I have a master's degree of science in nursing. I've practiced nursing for 45 years. I'm a retired Air Force nurse officer. I need to know the annual carbon footprint estimate for this gas factory. How much carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gases will be generated and released into our air by this factory? What portion of the energy required to run the proposed factory would be renewable? During the freezing process of turning gaseous fossil fuel into liquid fossil fuel, quote, extraneous compounds, quote, found in the fuel are removed. What are these extraneous compounds and to where will they go? Our soil, water, and air is being degraded. It's disintegrating and frankly disappearing. The earth has diminished volume and quality of its soil, water, and air. What once was a given, drinking tap water, is now a precious resource. New underground and aquifer downstream toxic plumes are being identified every day. What is in the quote powder, unquote, used to extinguish an LNG fire? The powder used many times to put out LNG fires, a risk we will be subjected to. Is it PFAS? I don't want it. No more dirtying the air, water, and soil. No more never, never chemicals like PFAS in our waters. This country needs to be leading a just transition, not continuing to plow down the road to extinction. The construction and operation of the proposed LNG plant would be detrimental to the public and health and safety of all our world's inhabitants. I have empathy for the polluters. It must seem like their lifestyle is inevitably unsustainable. I want you to know converting to renewables is very easy. I converted to renewables over 10 years ago, and I have not used fossil fuel to heat my house ever since. Since Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth, I installed solar panels, geothermal heat, I recycle water. I want to live, and I want the children and all future generations to have a quality environment. I care about all of us. You, PRC, need to care about all of us too. Be the leaders we so desperately need, PRC. Please decline this request. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Folks on Zoom, I ask that you please ensure that you're muted. We're getting some background conversation in the room here. Thank you. Can we have another person from the room here?
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Scott Croshaw. I reside in Albuquerque neighborhood of Ventana Ranch West. Ventana Ranch West is located on Albuquerque's west side. In reviewing New Mexico's gas information and the map you had up earlier for the proposed LNG site, Ventana Ranch West appears to be the closest neighborhood to the proposed facility. I've lived in Ventana Ranch area for 25 years, purchased my first residence in 98, and then my second residence in 2009. Today, I come here to speak in support of the LNG project. I can remember in early 2011, when we had multiple days of below zero temperatures in New Mexico. During that period, I can recall when the news asked us residents to turn down our thermostats to conserve the natural gas so other New Mexicans could heat their homes. We all turned down our thermostats. That was not enough. These extreme temperatures forced New Mexico residents and businesses to go without natural gas simply because there wasn't enough supply. Many residents were not able to heat their homes. This caused substantial damage to residents and businesses, with water lines freezing and causing significant damage. This project will invest in the natural gas infrastructure that's vital to New Mexico's residents. We need to ensure that our natural gas infrastructure is reliable and can sustain another sub-zero winter when it comes to New Mexico. I trust New Mexico Gas and their engineers in building a safe and reliable infrastructure. In Ventana Ranch West, there's a high-pressure transmission gas line that runs right through the center of the neighborhood. I know this as my house is one lot from being contiguous with the natural gas pipeline right-of-way. I trust New Mexico Gas, their engineers, their integrity management, their safety, and their maintenance of their infrastructure. This proposed LNG project is what is best for all New Mexicans. You will have individuals showing up with stop signs telling you not in my backyard. Well, commissioners, this is my backyard and I'm okay with it because it benefits the greater good. I urge the commission to approve this investment that will provide New Mexicans with a reliable source of natural gas to heat their homes. Thank you for allowing me to provide comments.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Rodriguez, could you put the map showing the location? Yes, that's great. I just want to be sure we still have the clock on the screen. I think that's very useful. Great. Thank you. Our next person from the room, please.
Hello. I'd like to thank the commissioners for holding public hearings on the liquefied natural gas storage facility proposed to be constructed in Bernalillo County. My name is Walter Gerstel. I am a retired professor of civil engineering and a registered professional engineer. I think there are two major problems with the proposed LNG storage facility. The first problem is that the facility is poorly located. I think the proposed location is too close to the Albuquerque and Rio Rancho metropolitan area, the most densely populated area in New Mexico. The risk of catastrophic failure so close to our largest cities is unacceptable. Unavoidable natural gas leakage is also a serious health and climate concern. But the larger problem is that we should not be investing in natural gas infrastructure because natural gas is a very potent greenhouse gas, both before and after combustion. We must do all that we can to eliminate the extraction and use of natural gas. At one time, natural gas was considered a bridge fuel. We now know that natural gas is very bad for our climate. We must decarbonize our energy portfolio as rapidly as possible. We now have the ability to replace natural gas infrastructure with green energy infrastructure. That is solar, wind, transmission, and energy storage. All of our investments should support green, renewable, sustainable energy. You, the PRC commissioners, are our appointed leaders. We know that we must halt our use of fossil fuels. The science is clear. The health, welfare, and safety of the public, both current and future generations, is in our hands. Responsible leadership must guide us to a less expensive, healthier, and environmentally sound energy future. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you for your comments. Let's take a couple more people from the room here.
Good afternoon. My name is Russ Pogansey. I'm the president of the Santa Fe Village Neighborhood Association. My one question is, why would you cite a 12 million gallon, 10-story liquid natural gas storage tank right next to a large metropolitan area? There are over 120,000 square miles of largely uninhabited land in New Mexico. Of the approximately 100 peak shaving LNG storage facilities in the United States, less than 5% are located near a large metropolitan area. Of the 11 new LNG peak shaving storage facilities currently under construction, only one is in a large metropolitan area. There are no independent environmental impact studies done of this proposal. The LNG project design includes a terminal for LNG tanker truck pickup and delivery of LNG, the number of trucks, and the routes they would take in Albuquerque, Rio Rancho is not specified. The proposal is the proposal is 2 miles away from Doubletree Airport, directly below the airplane approach path. Does anyone believe that the threat of terrorism has passed? LNG gas has no LNG storage facilities in New Mexico, has never designed, built, operated, or maintained one. They must obtain expert resources from outside of New Mexico while competing with worldwide demand for them in a booming industry. This can only have negative effects on cost and safety. What is going to be the effect on property values? Would you buy a home near a 10-story, 12 million gallon LNG storage tank with an occasional LNG tanker truck passing through your community? My final comment is that the regulations regarding this facility, mostly, for the most part, are 40 years old. They are under current review, and major changes could take place once they are released, affecting the design and cost of this facility. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. The lady in the back, please.
Hello, my name is Madigan Ray, and I'm a homeowner in Rio Rancho. That's right, I am a millennial who owns a house. We do exist. And as a homeowner, I strongly object to this being in my backyard or being in anyone's backyard. This is not an energy source that we need to be pursuing. And I know there's been a lot of talk about the incident in 2011, but in the last 12 years, how many people have switched to solar? In 2021, we saw similar weather patterns and we didn't have this problem because we don't need this here. We don't need it anywhere. We need to be investing in solar and solar energy storage. Please do not vote in favor of this project. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Let's switch back to Zoom, Mr. Rodriguez, and
thank you. Next, can I have Penny speak? And Penny, if you wouldn't mind providing your first and last name for the record.
Penelope Maines. Thank you. I am Penelope Maines, a 40-year resident of Albuquerque. I asked you to stand against the proposed LNG because of its proximity to our schools. The proposed site is less than 4 miles from Puesta del Sol Elementary and less than 3 miles from Volcano Vista High School. Our school children already face dangers and worrisome situations, such as possible school gun violence, missed school due to the pandemic, peer pressure accelerated by social media, and extreme weather related to the climate crisis. Let's not add to their perils and worries. Wilma Subra, who is president of Subra Company, an environmental consulting firm in Louisiana, and has received a MacArthur Fellowship Genius Award, has vast experience in environmental issues and communities. I quote her, "The New Mexico LNG will be a major source of toxic air pollutants," end of quote. Subra lists the effects on health associated with the chemicals emitted by LNGs. Acute effects include headaches, convulsions, and vomiting, to name a few. Chronic effects include cancers, heart disease, and aplastic anemia, when your body stops making enough blood cells, to name just a few. My research revealed to me the many catastrophic accidents that have occurred with LNGs, some resulting in deaths, serious injuries, evacuations, and cracks in the structures, which of course leak more of those dangerous chemicals. Let's not add to our students' peril or damage their health. Let's let our children know we actively cherish them and that we support them having a solid education and having good health by saying no to the proposed New Mexico Gas Company LNG. Thank you.
thank you for your comments.
Next, we have Edward Kwan. Go ahead and unmute, Edward.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Hello, my name is Edward Kwan. I am a resident of Bernalillo County in Albuquerque. My family and I live roughly 4 miles from the proposed site. As a father, husband, and local health educator, I have to express my opposition to this proposed LNG storage facility. Nearly 140,000 residents alone in Bernalillo County suffer from respiratory and heart diseases in Bernalillo County. This facility with the pollutants it will release will add to this health issue, exacerbating our already strained healthcare system and costing New Mexico more than what the LNG storage facility would save or benefit, if any savings or benefits exist. I encourage all parties involved to seek healthier and safer alternatives than the proposed LNG storage facility in Bernalillo County, Rio Rancho. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next, we have Catherine Shera.
Good afternoon to the members of the PRC and to all those in attendance. My name is Catherine Shera and I'm a resident of Santa Fe. Today, I would like to express my strong opposition to the proposed LNG liquefaction and storage facility in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. According to a recent independent analysis of the risks of fracking and related oil and gas infrastructure, threats to the public safety posed by LNG facilities are wide-ranging, substantial, and far, far too common. These hazards, which threaten workers and communities both in and near these facilities and along public transportation routes, have been highlighted by many members of the public at recent PRC forums. These hazards include releases of methane, benzene, and other toxic air pollutants, which will contribute to the further degradation of ambient air quality in the Albuquerque metropolitan area and region, increased tanker truck traffic on state and local highways, and associated increased demand for highway maintenance and emergency services, the on-site storage and use of large volumes of highly flammable LNG refrigerants, the risk of ignition of LNG facility pool fires, which can cause second-degree burns of the exposed skin of individuals for up to a mile. And finally, the risk of LNG spills from facilities and tanker trucks, which produce highly explosive vapor clouds that can flash freeze human flesh and asphyxiate first responders by displacing oxygen. It is my sincere hope that, in a headlong rush to permit the Rio Rancho LNG facility, the PRC will not overlook these substantial threats to the public. Yet, even if the proposed LNG facility were genuinely capable of being operated with perfect safety, an inescapable truth about its construction would nonetheless remain. With the climate crisis firmly upon us, all new investments in oil and gas infrastructure, including the facility under consideration today, merely perpetuate our deadly dependence on fossil fuels and delay our necessary transition to alternative energy sources. If seasonal fluctuations in methane gas supplies are of genuine concern, I urge the Commission to seek alternative energy solutions, not the construction of new LNG infrastructure. This misguided course of action will merely deepen our state's reliance on fossil fuel combustion and extraction. New LNG infrastructure has no place in our state, either in Rio Rancho or in any other location. Fossil fuels are among the most deadly byproducts of powerful industries that have long minimized the risk of these materials' use and extraction, industries that have deliberately and willfully misled the American public about these existential hazards for decades. As a result, members of low-income communities and communities of color, including many Hispanic and indigenous communities here in New Mexico, have borne the most grievous and disproportionate impacts of fossil fuel use and extraction for decades. It is long past time to shift our focus to cleaner, safer, cleaner, more just, and more sustainable energy sources. We look to the PRC for critical leadership on this issue and for real energy security looking forward for all New Mexicans. I urge the Commission to deny the permit for the proposed Rio Rancho LNG facility. Thank you for the opportunity to offer comment on this issue.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Rodriguez, let's take two more people from Zoom.
Next, I have Felicia Guillen speak.
Buenos tardes todos. I would just like to uplift Catherine's previous statement. My name is Felicia Guillen. I am here today representing UNM Leaders for Environmental Action and Foresight. I am here today to urge you to stand with me in opposing the New Mexico Gas Company's proposed liquefied natural gas storage plant in Rio Rancho. While this is about environmental impact, it's also about preserving the essence of our home. Our state, New Mexico, isn't just a location on a map, it's our home. Therefore, we all have the responsibility to safeguard the beauty of New Mexico, ensuring that decisions we make today resonate positively in our backyards and echo for generations to come. Investments like the LNG facility hinder the path to cleaner alternatives, impeding progress towards decarbonization. Now more than ever, we must be mindful of the decisions that shape our future and avoid new infrastructure that make our journey as a state towards decarbonization more challenging. Consider the immense safety risks associated with LNG. The proposed facility's proximity to Rio Rancho poses huge threats to our safety. We cannot afford to overlook these risks, ranging from the ignition of leaking gas to hazards associated with LNG production lines. These are not just abstract dangers, they are real and they have tangible consequences. We must prioritize the well-being of our communities in any circumstance. Please, I ask you to join me in opposing the construction of the LNG storage facility. We need responsible energy solutions that lead us towards a sustainable, decarbonized future that prioritizes our frontline communities and the health of our environment. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your comments.
So we have Chaz Spence. Go ahead and speak, Chaz.
Thank you for your time. I live out on the West Mesa, about 5 miles from the Double Eagle Airport. Now, where this LNG plant is to be built, I will not talk about the trucks that are going to be moving the LNG to areas close to schools, residents, and businesses. I will not talk about the foolishness of building this archaic technology when it is so contrary to climate change and renewable energy. No. I worked as a bulk liquid crude oil and petrochemical surveyor for about 30 years, the last 10 of it involving supervising LNG shipments from ships and barges onto the shore terminals. And I have seen a few things, a few incidents during this time. I'm not here to talk about that. So as safe as this LNG plant might be, in time after a few winters and summers out in the New Mexico desert, this plant will age. And with this aging will come problems and leaks. The internet is rife with videos of safe LNG plants that are working well until they don't work very well anymore. What I want to talk about now is, having been up on the West Mesa for some 7 years, I can assure you, as we all know, the wind blows here in New Mexico nearly every day, and most of these days, 90% of them, the wind comes from the northwest. That puts this proposed LNG plant northwest of the city of Albuquerque, just where it will, if God forbid something should happen, become problematic for the citizens of the city as a whole. Should an incident happen, the city will be downwind of a potential vapor release, toxic gas blowing down onto the people. This LNG plant has the energy potential, should this vapor cloud find an ignition source, of a low-yield nuclear weapon. Should the vapor release catch fire, again with Albuquerque being downwind of this safe until it isn't LNG plant, I don't want to consider why anyone responsible would even think to take on such a risk. Again, it's an eyesore. We don't need it. And it's just not a good idea for the city. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Let's switch back to people here in the room. Sir.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you for this opportunity in general, but also I want to thank you for coming here closer to the facility. And as a resident who actually lives within eyesight of this building, I especially appreciate it. But I'm here today as a parent, as a father. Again, I live nearby. You know, it seems to me that the operational benefits clearly don't outweigh the risk to the people of Rio Rancho and Albuquerque. I fear the physical danger from the potential ignition of leaking gas forming a low-lying cloud that drifts until it hits an ignition source. Even simple static electricity can set off such a cloud, and that would ignite into an inferno. Depending upon wind and topography, such methane clouds can extend for miles. I fear the proposed tanker trucks will endanger New Mexico drivers and communities throughout New Mexico, but also especially my daughters drive to and from Cleveland High School. they're out on the roads where these trucks may be going by or not too far away. For them and their fellow students, you know, there's 3,000 students there. It's a lot of kids driving a lot of cars. And of course, not West Mesa, sorry. Sorry, forgetting the name of the other high school on the west side of Albuquerque too, similarly situated. I also fear that impacts from boil-off gas and other unnecessary or necessary intermittent venting could increase cumulative emissions in this area. And American Lung Association has rated the air quality in New Mexico as very poor. Many of our counties have received Fs. Finally, I don't think it's necessary. You know, a lot of homeowners are replacing existing gas appliances with electric, both for economic reasons as well as for our concern for global climate change. And a lot of home builders too are making that switch too, because that's what home buyers are looking for. Demand for gas is going down. It's going to go down very fast, very soon. So I thank you for this opportunity. I hope you please vote no on this permit.
Thank you for your comments. The lady in the black sweater, was your hand up?
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Jackie Davis, and I'm here representing UNM Leaders for Environmental Action and Foresight. I, like you, share a great level of concern about energy security in our community. And the reality is that natural gas powers many of our heaters, stovetops, ovens, and yes, even some of our vehicles. When I go home and eat dinner tonight, it will most likely be entirely cooked on a gas stovetop or in a gas-powered oven. That being said, there are substantial risks to expanding the current infrastructure for natural gas, not to mention the increased costs that all ratepayers will have to bear. Locating this liquefied natural gas facility so close to an urban area will undoubtedly spark fear among residents, as you've heard some today, who will have to wonder about the potential impacts to their health and well-being. In the event that there were a leak from the facility, it would cause an unprecedented disaster given its proximity to developed areas. This liquefied natural gas facility would also likely add additional charges, about $40 a year, to all of our gas bills to fund a project that doesn't even solve the problem it purports to solve. Although we will not be surprised if we see more than one once-in-a-century events in the next century that threaten our energy security, this facility may not even be able to meet the capacity needed to handle the worst of these events. While I understand the need to ensure energy security in a cost-effective way, this proposal just doesn't do that. So with that, I ask you to vote no on this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Jerry Shallow, President and CEO of the Rio Rancho Regional Chamber. The Rio Rancho Regional Chamber of Commerce is in favor of the proposed liquefied natural gas facility for several reasons. First one being is energy security. The LNG facility would help ensure the reliable and affordable supply of natural gas. As we saw last year, the cost of natural gas dramatically increased, and we are, every time that gas is limited during the wintertime, those that cannot afford higher priced natural gas are stuck paying it, and then we're looking for different ways to help them out. This reduces the reliance on the need for higher natural gas prices that we are buying natural gas when needed during cold fronts from other states. The LNG facility would be designed and operated to the highest environmental standards and would not pose a risk for the environment. The job opportunities that are created from this, not only from the construction of this facility, but also on future development. This area is zoned for industrial. It is not in a residential area. It's zoned industrial near Paseo del Volcan, which is the planned roadway. Cost of the facility is $180 million. It sounds like a lot of money, but When you break it down, it is a lot less than what our residents in New Mexico incur every time that there is a spike in gas prices. And on top of that, as we know with inflation, everything continually costs more. The economic benefits of secure and adequate natural gas would be attractive to businesses to expand, relocate, and add a location in New Mexico. In addition, will provide opportunities for companies to make compressed natural gas a stronger option for alternative fuels for their fleets. Waste Management already does that today. They're using compressed natural gas for the benefit of the environment. Provide a reliable and affordable supply of natural gas to New Mexico and reduce our reliance on Texas. That's what has not been discussed so far today, is we have a strong reliance on Texas. And whether it's the freeze back in 2011 or last year, Texas gets the dibs on natural gas before we do, leaving New Mexico second. The Chamber is aware of some concerns that may be out there with the proposed natural gas facility. The Chamber believes that based on its review, that these have been adequately reviewed and addressed with careful planning and design. In conclusion, the Rio Rancho Regional Chamber of Commerce believes that the LNG facility is a sound investment for the future of New Mexico and will help make the state a more prosperous and sustainable place to live, work, and raise a family. The Chamber urges your support of this LNG facility. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes.
Commissioners, I'm Jane Beckley, a resident of Albuquerque and Bernalillo County. I strongly oppose this proposed facility. I wish to amplify 3 of my prior written comments. First, health and safety risks, including potential leaks, fire, and explosion, and truck transport on area roads. The LNG application notes those. Quote, finally, the LNG facility, like all gas processing facilities, will have some fugitive emissions to the environment, end quote. That's the testimony of Michael Barkley of the Lisbon Group on page 581. On page 1, quote, the storage tank will also be able to be filled from and deliver natural gas to tanker trucks for delivery as needed throughout the state for NMGC's normal and emergency operational needs. The literature on LNG facilities documents this as well. From a retired oil and gas engineer, when there's too much gas backed up in the pipes, the company prevents explosions by burning off gas. From the executive director of the Pipeline Safety Trust, it's important to remember that LNG poses unique safety risks, often above and beyond those posed by other hydrocarbon transportation due to the high pressure and density. Flaring of methane will harm air quality, and flaring is part of normal operations. Again, from a retired oil and gas engineer, a certain level of flaring is to be expected when workers attempt to control pressure variations within their equipment. Additional concerns of mine include cost to local governments, taxpayers, customers, and property owners. In its open house on November 6, Mr. Bullard acknowledged when asked that emergency response personnel from Rio Rancho, Albuquerque, and Bernalillo County would be expected to respond to a significant event. They will require the equipment, personnel, and training needed, cost to be borne by those jurisdictions and their taxpayers. And finally, I'm concerned about the impact on the landscape. This facility will damage the heritage landscape of the Northwest Mesa and surrounding area, including the Petroglyph National Monument. This is a sacred landscape to Native tribes, a cultural resource for current and future generations of New Mexicans, and protected by the Albuquerque-Bernalillo Comprehensive Plan. A 100-foot tall storage tank, which according to Mr. Barclay would be visible and lighted during the day and at night, there's no way to minimize that impact on the entire landscape and on Albuquerque open space. These are not the only harms and costs of this project, but they do represent irrevocable and grave damage to the Northwest Mesa. I respectfully request that you deny this application. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Let's take one more person from the room, then we'll switch to Zoom. And after about 5 people on Zoom, I'm going to suggest that we maybe take a 10-minute break just to let people stretch a bit. Please go ahead.
Yes. Hello, my name is Amy Bronson Doherty. I am a resident of Rio Rancho. I'm here today taking unpaid leave from my job to express my opposition to the proposed liquefied natural gas plant in Rio Rancho. I recently moved back to New Mexico and Rio Rancho from Washington State, where communities fought back successfully against similar proposals, also in populated areas by Chinese gas companies. If I hadn't been familiar with the acronym LNG, I might have missed the article in a local newspaper about this proposal and its significance. I certainly was not informed by the city of Rio Rancho or Sandoval County, my representative government. I share the concerns of everyone speaking out against the proposal today, but this is what truly frightens me. This proposal is not made in the best interest of the people of New Mexico. It's an attempt to create another anchor that enslaves our state to oil and gas, to the gas company and Emera, the Canadian company that owns it and is amassing companies across the continent. I don't want to spend 30 years paying for an unnecessary and dangerous and destructive facility that 30 years from now should have been long shut down and useless. 7 generations from now, I want our children to know that when we, the people of New Mexico, finally understood the full impact of oil and gas, we thought of them and we changed our ways. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Rodriguez, let's take 5 people from Zoom.
Ernie Sidabakis, go ahead and speak. Ernie, go ahead and unmute your Zoom.
Did you say Scott Lopez?
Scott's here.
Go ahead, Scott. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and PRC commissioners. My name is Scott Lopez. I am a native New Mexican born and raised in Espanola, and I have recently purchased a home in the Rio Rancho area near the proposed LNG facility. I am also the Vice President of Business Development and Government Affairs at Kelly Cable of New Mexico. We are a utility contractor with more than 260 local employees and have offices in Santa Fe, Las Vegas, Farmington, Albuquerque, and Las Cruces. We have been in business and serving New Mexico for more than 30 years. The New Mexico Gas Company is diligently and responsibly preparing for adverse weather events and ensuring that its New Mexico customers will not be left in the dark and cold should there be a disruption in the natural gas supply. We cannot risk the health and safety of New Mexico's most vulnerable citizens by leaving the main source of heating for their homes in jeopardy due to inaction or bowing to fear and scare tactics by people that would have no answer or operational energy solution should there be a cold weather catastrophe or emergency that could cause a major disruption in the natural gas supply. It is documented that we are living in times of extreme weather events. And should we have to deal with another emergency, a weather emergency in the days, months, or years ahead, we know no one is coming to our rescue here in New Mexico. We would be left completely on our own. So we have to prepare and plan in advance for our own weather emergencies. Thank you, New Mexico Gas Company, for your leadership and stewardship to help New Mexico be prepared for such an extreme cold weather disaster. We at Kelly Cable of New Mexico enthusiastically support the building and operation of the proposed LNG storage facility on the west side of Albuquerque, Rio Rancho area, and hope you will as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
And next, can I have Michael Espiritu speak?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am Mike Espiritu. I'm President and CEO of the Roswell-Chaves County Economic Development Corporation. Thank you for allowing me to provide some comments concerning New Mexico Gas Company's proposed LNG storage facility. Economic developers like myself across the country continue to support our utility partners in providing safe, reliable, efficient, and low-cost services to our communities and to current and future economic development projects. We fully support projects like this for New Mexico Gas Company, so they may have the ability to store and access the resources when needed to prevent pricing challenges for customers, as well as sufficient capacity so companies can stay in business, create and sustain jobs, and help improve local economies and communities, as well as supporting a better quality of life for the residents of New Mexico. As you are aware, past adverse weather conditions impact our state, especially in the colder winter months. The company's proposal to build new above-ground storage facilities is a step in the right direction and will allow them to own and operate more efficiently and better serve their customers. We also understand their design is both cost-effective and a safe alternative. Furthermore, their company believes in full transparency with their customers, and they have pledged open forums to educate and address any questions. This strategy to create a new company-owned storage facility will better serve the people of New Mexico. We fully support the gas company's foresight to provide this alternative to prevent future impacts. Again, we applaud their future vision to support their many customers, and we fully support their efforts in moving their vision to the next level. We urge you, Commissioners, to please support their request as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next, I have David Hagas. Go ahead, David.
All right, just pulling up my notes here. Marawi ka. Greetings to Commissioner and PRC. I'm David Valencia. I'm a member of Youth United for Climate Crisis Action, also known as YUCCA. I'm in opposition to the LNG proposed facility. I have had to do a lot of unlearning and relearning in my lifespan thus far. We need to understand real solutions to our energy needs with the ongoing climate crisis. We need to speak and discuss such matters within honest, accurate context and narrative, which centers those most harmed and decentralizes those doing harm at all times. Accountability is the word I'm looking for. It is hard to accept that people with political and legislative power have the privilege and the will to not be thinking of meeting our human energy needs in today's world on historic Pueblo and indigenous homelands. We need a just transition in sustainable and responsible ways. It's crucial to repairing what was originally broken. We have two homes, the planet Earth and our mother's womb. False solutions to the climate crisis, such as LNG facilities, put everyone at risk. Back to context and narrative, historical harm was and is done to indigenous communities here and across the continent. Harm to land-based life ways for generations. Harm against women, children, and man, including gender diverse people. Harm against the earth and to the climate by extraction, even if it is natural gas. We need to keep it in the soil. Harm to the earth, including its biodiversity, in which we human beings are a part of. This harm is a result and a consequence of environmental racism and environmental injustices, which includes LNG facilities that are a false solution to this crisis. Now, even if people don't understand the harm they were or are doing, harm is still caused and thus needs to be amended. I see and understand the true harm and impact an LNG facility can have, so I must oppose it for what it is and where it's proposed, given the context of the present and past history of genocide against indigenous people, and specifically the indigenous people on these New Mexico lands. So to that we say Ira, thank you, in the Comanche language. That is all.
Thank you for your comments.
And my name for the record is David Valencia.
Thank you.
Turn to Ernie Sidbaka. Ernie, go ahead, unmute.
Hi, this is Ernie Sidbaka, PRC Commissioners. I am the President and CEO of the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce. I did also work for 37 years for PNM as the last 20 or so as a Vice President of Governmental Affairs. So I kind of I know a little bit, a thing or two about the importance and reliability and the capacity for utilities and the importance it is for residential customers and for businesses in New Mexico. I speak in favor of the proposed liquefied natural gas facility. Utilities like New Mexico Gas Company are monopolies, and for that privilege, they are responsible to provide their customers with safe, reliable, and affordable gas service as much as possible. Safe, reliable, and affordable utilities are important for economic development throughout New Mexico. It is important to have dialogue so that people can express their opinions. Nonetheless, we should all agree that New Mexicans need to be protected from cold weather issues, both on the gas system and in their wallet. This project does just that. To respect everybody's time, I don't want to repeat all the great testimony that the proponents provided. However, we all know that we cannot predict the weather, nor depend on Texas to bail us out. Remember, the least storage in Texas has not always been available when customers in New Mexico needed it. Think about those storms in 2011 and 2021. It's simple, really. Having natural gas storage here in Albuquerque and Rio Rancho area is better for New Mexico families and businesses compared with making us rely on a third party in Texas. To the commissioners, please allow New Mexico Gas Company to build and operate the LNG storage facility. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Next, can I have Catherine Webster? Go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity to comment. I, Catherine Webster, a local student, oppose the proposed LNG site. I am particularly concerned about negative impacts on human health and the environment, as LNG is derived from fracked methane gas, specifically in regards to emissions and air quality. As the effects of climate change become more significant, it is important to stop investing in fossil fuel infrastructure, as it only exacerbates the problem. Clearly, the risks far outweigh the benefits. This continuation of fossil fuel infrastructure expansion is not good for New Mexicans, and the PRC must put the people before the profits of climate change driving oil and gas companies.
Thank you for your comments. At this point, I'd like to call for a 10-minute recess just to let people stretch a little bit, and we'll start back with comments from the room. So let's see, what time is it now? 4:43. Let's say 4:55, just to make it a little more round. 4:55, and we'll start back up. Thank you. Back into session, and let's start taking folks from the room for comment. Is there anyone from the room who'd like to comment? Yes.
Thank you, commissioners. Mary Jo Streets, Sandoval County resident. Commissioners, as residents, we do understand the LNG natural gas storage facility project is in response to an order from PRC regulators to explore alternative gas storage options. As residents, we do understand facilities have operated safely and reliably in more than 20 states for 40 years. As residents, we do understand the best practices will be applied to design and operating procedures of this proposed facility. We do understand this investment is presented as a safeguard against natural gas price spikes caused by supply disruption. However, while that all sounds sincere, as residents, we are not buying the sales pitch. As our extreme weather is uncommon, note it's been 12 years since the need was required. Commissioners, we do not support or have any interest in financing the construction of a 25-acre facility housing 1 billion cubic feet of natural gas, risking the potential of methane leaks, fires, and/or explosions with potential for health risks, all with the added bonus of continual rate increases, as well as decreased property values of nearby communities. Sandoval County residents are not unresearched, are not uninformed or naive, and one can only hope neither is this commission. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. May we have the next person from the room? Yes.
Hello, my name is Bethany Sanchez. I am a previous resident of Corrales, New Mexico, now living in Albuquerque, but my whole family continues to live in Corrales, New Mexico. I am also a to-be graduate of the UNM School of Medicine, here representing the Climate Change and Health Equity Coalition at the UNM School of Medicine. I have also had 10 years of experience working in environmental health sciences, both as a basic researcher and as a clinician scientist, or not clinician scientist, a clinical researcher. And I've had the privilege of working in many communities, both in New Mexico and around the world, namely Beijing, China, where I was able to see firsthand women who were pregnant and children who were exposed to high levels of volatile organic compounds, like are going to be emitted by this project proposal. Seeing that firsthand is very moving, and I'm asking you here, I won't go into all of the details, which have been very excellently outlined by my fellow constituents, the health impacts of this proposal. But I do want to say that my background in public health and my now foundation in medical science, I oppose this proposal, and I ask you to do the same, not just for my future, but for my patients' future and for the community. Please invest in more sustainable solutions. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Commission, for the opportunity to speak today. I am a retired medical provider and have been a medical provider as a nurse practitioner for 18 years and a nurse for 30 years. What I want to point out is that this plant is going to be located in an area within 10 miles of 51 public schools. Have you noticed the trends in the increased prevalence of chronic lung disease? Children are having increased problems with asthma. We have COPD. We have poor air quality. Why would we want to risk our future when this could be put somewhere else? I think that the location is very poorly chosen. I ask those that are in favor of this if they're going to move their children to those public schools, because the people that live there don't have a choice. I also believe that the long-term outcomes of children exposed to this have not been fully looked at. I couldn't find specific research on this. And so we're taking a chance with our most vulnerable. And I truly do feel that that is not necessary. I'm sure that the natural gas company has pipelines in areas that are not as populated and that are not as close to schools. And those areas should be explored and they should be used. Do not jeopardize our children. And for the Chamber of Commerce that has paraded through and talked about how businesses will be drawn into the area because they have an LNG plant, I beg to differ. Businesses move to areas because they have good education systems, because they have good health care, and because they have low crime. I was on a board of regents. I never had one corporation ask me if I had an LNG plant. So these things need to be considered. And perhaps the chamber should start working on those efforts as diligently as they are for lobbying for the LNG company. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Beth Dowling. I'm a resident of Sandoval County in Rio Rancho. Certainly, there have been some extremely articulate comments made this evening, and I would just like to make some observations for having been here from the beginning of the meeting. In fact, most of the public comments have been made by, as all others have stated, by the chambers of commerce from different areas and politicians. But the majority of negative comments have come from who? From residents. And it's really important for you to listen to the residents and not the chambers nor the politicians. We, the people, have a huge say in what happens in where we live. And we want you to understand that's the majority of the negative comments or concerns that you're getting this evening. It's also been stated that there's a savings that's going to be associated with the LNG facility, yet we were explained or presented that our rates will be increased. So where's the savings? I'd also like to say again, which has been said many times, this is not a remote location. This is a location that's in close proximity to a highly densely populated area with families and children. And the last thing I'd like to ask is the Texas facility that's been mentioned. So is that in a highly populated area? I doubt it. I really doubt. And I think it's an important thing for you to look at where that facility is located versus where this facility is located in terms of the highly densely populated area. And I appreciate you listening to our comments.
Thank you for your comments.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'll try not to be duplicative. Thank you for the opportunity to comment today. Thank you for coming and gathering this important testimony from the community. My name is Matthew Gonzalez. I'm wearing a few hats today. First, I'm the executive director for the Consumer Energy Alliance. We're a consumer advocacy group focused on advocating for affordable, reliable, sustainable energy options that result in better outcomes for working families, small businesses, seniors. Additionally, I serve as the vice chairman for the National Hispanic Energy Council. Right now, Hispanics in the U.S. experience energy burdens 20% higher than your average American household. That includes on things like LNG or things like natural gas, electric utilities. We pay more as Hispanic people. Lastly, I also serve as the mayor for the village of Cimarron, a small town of about 800 people in northeast New Mexico. I will tell you, and I've heard a few people say, well, let's just go to renewables. Where I live at, we don't put all our eggs in one basket. We have catastrophic storms every year. It may not be happening down here in Albuquerque, but we have big storms every year. If I relied solely on electricity, my pellet stove wouldn't work. So I have natural gas that is in my home. I don't run it all the time. I run it and I have other options. I also can run my electricity, but we have many options available to us and not everyone can afford it. I'm fortunate enough that I can have a pellet stove. I actually had to switch to a pellet stove because I used to have a wood heater, but my daughter has asthma. And so when we switched to natural gas, it actually stopped some of the problems that she was having. So this argument that it's going to exacerbate problems, I would say majority of your families in New Mexico are burning wood right now. So many of our families are living at or below the poverty level. We have seniors living on fixed incomes. When those energy prices spike, it impacts them. And then now they're forced to make tough decisions. You know who's not in this audience today? Those families. Those families are not here today because they're so busy with their nose to the grind trying to make ends meet. They don't have time to come and provide public comment. But I will tell you that they're working hard and they need energy options. They need affordability. They need reliability. This is scary for people. And guess what? Every energy project that I have ever worked on is scary to the community bringing it. It doesn't matter if it's solar panels, wind turbines, broadband. People are scared about projects coming to their area because they're afraid of the impact it'll have. And that's a reasonable thing to have. But education is important. So I applaud the gas company for making the effort to be out there. I applaud the trade groups that are out there trying to educate people as well. I would encourage the people that are saying no to come to the table and visit about what those shared interests are. We think that we disagree on everything because the news media tells us that, but we agree on about 90% of the stuff. And if we worked more collectively together, we could probably find a reasonable, workable solution that everyone would be happy with. But saying no is not an option. This doesn't just benefit the metropolitan area. This is where the majority of the people are. So when that impact happens and you need that dispatchable energy, it's going to happen here, but it benefits all parts of the state, not just the metropolitan area, all of New Mexico. We're looking at energy projects in our area and we're looking at them around the state. We all have to be at the table when it comes to developing energy projects that benefit all of us. Thank you for the opportunity to comment today.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Rodriguez, let's switch to comments on Zoom now.
Thank you. Can I have William Hill speak?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think we're connected. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. My name is Bill Hill. I live in Paradise Hills, just south of Rio Rancho. I've lived in Albuquerque since 1950. The LNG plant is an idea whose time has passed and should be buried along with the fossil fuels whose use it perpetuates. It's time to invest in sustainable, clean energies rather than a destructive past. As per the concerns of many others expressed to you, please vote against the LNG plant. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next, can we have Julian Holman? Go ahead, Julian.
Thank you to the PRC for the opportunity to speak on this important issue. My name is Julian Holman, and I'm speaking to you today as a student of the University of New Mexico, a resident of Albuquerque, and as someone who has seen the sky over my head turn bright red for days and feared for the safety of my family and my community. I am sympathetic to the New Mexico Gas Company's concerns for energy security, particularly in light of the costly winter storms in Texas. However, I do not believe that the response we need to be taking in response to extreme weather events that are associated with climate change is to invest in fossil fuel infrastructure that poses a severe risk to our community. None of us here today know the future. It is not a certain guarantee that the proposed storage plant will cause the all too common accidents, leaks, and explosions associated with these facilities, but it is absolutely not certain that it will ensure a safe future for our community either. Rather the opposite. We have all seen the disastrous fires that have resulted from our inability to properly contain natural gas and other fossil fuels. I have felt ash rain down on my head and sheltered in my home because it wasn't safe to be outside. I have feared for my 86-year-old grandfather who had to flee from his home because it was at risk of being consumed by the raging flames. I have dear friends who are sent into a flight or fight state at the mere smell of smoke because of their traumatic experiences with the fires plaguing our landscape. The construction of the LNG facility would only increase the possibility of our community being subjected to these fires, explosions, and related traumas. We have seen the accidents, gas leaks, air pollution, explosions, and evacuations at and around LNG storage facilities across our country and world time and time again. We need to take heed to the warnings those incidents provide for our community. Therefore, I implore you to stop this project in its tracks. I ask you to prove to our communities that you care about their health, safety, and environmental future by joining me in opposing the construction of this dangerous LNG storage plant in our community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your comments.
Next, can I have Nancy Galloway speak?
Hello, I'm Nancy Galloway, a resident of Bernalillo County since 1999. I'd like to amplify the letter to the PRC from State Senator Harold Pope Jr. and over a dozen other state senators by paraphrasing a few of their objections with which I agree. The proposed LNG plant endangers the health, safety, security, and economic well-being of New Mexicans. The biggest danger at an LNG plant is a leak forming a low-lying vapor cloud of methane gas that drifts until it hits anything that can ignite it. That in turn creates an inferno that cannot be extinguished with water. These vapor clouds can drift for miles before igniting. Even static electricity can ignite it. The risk of an explosive wildfire spreading in the Rio Grande Valley greatly threatens the safety of our community. When these fires and explosions occur, they can result in fatalities, destruction of homes and infrastructure, resulting in millions of dollars in property damage. Transportation of the LNG also represents great danger to New Mexicans. The plant would also exacerbate the already dangerously poor air quality for the residents of Rio Rancho and Bernalillo County. Bernalillo County alone has over 63,000 residents with asthma and almost 33,000 with COPD, 42,000 with heart disease, as well as nearly 150,000 children and 111,000 residents over 65, all of whom are prone to experiencing adverse health effects. An LNG plant exacerbates the climate crisis, which is already impacting the quality of life to everyone on Earth, not just New Mexicans. Investment in fossil fuels infrastructure locks companies into this destructive business model that is already making our planet hotter, drier, and soon unlivable unless we urgently shift to renewables. The LNG plant represents a lost opportunity to invest in technology that's necessary to mitigate climate destruction. In closing, the letter states, we urge the PRC to deny New Mexico Gas Company's dangerous and risky application and to instead require the company to investigate alternatives that better diversify and secure our gas supply without investing significantly in expensive fossil fuel infrastructure that will soon become obsolete. I also urge you to deny the New Mexico Gas Company application.
Thank you for your comments.
Next, can I have Megan De La Rosa speak?
Hi, my name is Megan Del Rosa, and I'd like to express my full support for the proposed LNG facility. As a resident of New Mexico and the executive director of the Kirtland Partnership Committee, I believe that this facility will not only benefit our state's economy, but also provide support for important missions conducted at Kirtland National Security Complex. With availability of this new storage facility, the base will have additional confidence about its access to a reliable and affordable source of natural gas, aiding in the resiliency.
I'm sorry, we lost your audio.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. Aiding in the resiliency in case of emergencies and ensuring continued support for their important missions. Furthermore, I want to highlight the safety of an LNG facility. The New Mexico Gas Company has a strong track record of safe operations, and I have full confidence in their ability to maintain the highest safety standards for this facility. I also believe that this is an appropriate and necessary forward-looking decision for the state of New Mexico. An LNG storage facility would help to diversify our energy sector. The strategic location of this facility on the existing pipeline system will provide more direct control of storage, which will enhance our state's competitiveness with regard to energy supply and therefore help to attract new investments. Overall, the establishment of an LNG storage facility in New Mexico would bring significant economic, environmental, and social benefits for our state. It is a necessary step towards securing our future and positioning New Mexico as a leader in the energy industry. Therefore, I strongly support the development of an LNG storage facility in our state.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Rodriguez, let's take one more person from Zoom and then switch back to the room.
Next, going to have Xavier Barraza. Go ahead and unmute.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, go ahead, Xavier.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. First, I'd like to acknowledge how important this issue of the LNG facility is and to apologize for not delivering my comments in person, especially to our communities who we're making these comments for. My name is Xavier Barraza. I'm calling on behalf of Los Jardines Institute or the Gardens Institute. First, we strongly oppose the LNG facility. Our institute is a legacy grassroots organization. We've been working on social, economic, and environmental justice research and issues for many decades. We're located in the South Valley of Albuquerque and are connected throughout the state. Our leadership has met with every EPA administrator since the EPA was established, and our co-authors and inaugural signatories of the Environmental Justice Principles signed in Washington, D.C. in 1991. We take these issues of developing key infrastructure such as energy very serious, especially when they're in our communities here in Albuquerque or in New Mexico, and especially in regard to whether they're needed and necessary. Los Jardines Institute has assessed the proposed LNG facility first in respect to an equitable and just transition. We asked, right? We have to ask this question. We're asking this question nationally as we drive environmental justice legislation on a federal and national level. Are these decisions going to contribute to a just and equitable transition for our communities, especially those here locally? Are they going to transition us from an equitable distribution of resources and benefits? Is this LNG facility going to transition us from concentrating risk near vulnerable, low-income, indigenous, people of color communities for the interests of larger corporations? And is this going to transition us from a fossil fuel intensive infrastructure or to a more renewable, efficient, and sustainable energy system? We don't believe so. We know that the LNG facility will not provide this. In fact, we were actually taken aback by our counterparts from the Chamber of Commerce and NAIOP, who not only neglected to provide you all as commissioners insight to one of the precedential cumulative impacts rulemakings happening right now in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County. In this rulemaking, where Kirtland Air Force Base, the Chamber of Commerce, and others are actually parties to this rule, have had to come to some hard conclusions. First, air pollution in Bernalillo County has been mentioned is above the federal smog limit up to 95% of the time. Actually, we're out of compliance more times than not in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County. It was interesting to hear our counterparts from Kirtland Air Force Base mention the reliability of New Mexico Gas Company when Kirtland Air Force Base themselves actually are responsible for a 24 million gallon jet fuel spill that's still actually a matter of concern and still leaking into the aquifer and still yet to be under complete control. So thank you, and we look forward to you all taking in all of this information and looking at the cumulative impacts of this LNG facility as you make your decision.
Thank you for your comments. At this time, let's switch back to folks in the room here. Yes.
Commissioners, thank you for having this public hearing. I'm Terry Merkley. I'm a resident of Rio Rancho, and I am opposed to the construction of the New Mexico Gas Company's liquefied nitrogen gas facility for the following reasons. It's unnecessary. Our state has the capability to produce enough energy for its 2 million residents and commercial entities if all forms of energy are used in New Mexico. For New Mexico Gas Company to use the 2021 weather anomaly in Texas, when the temperatures across the state were historically low, as a reason for building this plant is ludicrous. The estimated cost of this plant is $180 million. Cost to the ratepayer at $3 a month or $36 a year might seem like a nominal fee, but with our inflationary economy, it's significant. The Rio Rancho taxpayer is already burdened with excessive taxes, and we know the prices are only going to increase. They never decrease. More importantly, liquid nitrogen gas facilities emit toxins in the air such as nitric oxide and carbon monoxide, and studies show residents living near the plant have higher rates of asthma and cancer that exceed the national average. They should not be built near schools and residences, and definitely not in the middle of the most populous area of New Mexico. Lastly, the only winner in this proposal, if adopted, will be New Mexico Gas Company. Since 2016, liquid nitrogen gas imports have declined in the United States, while exports in the United States have increased dramatically. New Mexico Gas Company is likely to make huge profits by transporting liquid nitrogen fuel to Canada and Mexico, or to a Texas port to be delivered to European countries, while putting all Rio Rancho and Bernalillo County residents at risk. I respectfully urge a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Let's take you next, sir, after this.
Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to give my opinion. I appreciate it. I am very much opposed to this liquid natural gas proposal. I live here in Rio Rancho, and it's a little close to home, in my opinion. So I'm Mary Burgess, and I am a retired high school science teacher, biology, environmental science. So I don't want to repeat everybody's opinions. I agree with them. But in a way, I'm really happy that I'm speaking later, as I have had the opportunity to listen to all the other speakers. And I notice a pattern that it's all the residents who are opposed to this, and chambers of commerce and such are the ones who are for it. So is that a question about residents versus people related to monopolies? I don't know. It's a pattern that stuck out. So thank you. I appreciate your listening.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, sir, the gentleman in the front.
My name is Fred Shepard, and I would like to speak in favor of the proposed liquefied natural gas facility. As an economic development professional and a resident of Rio Rancho, I work with many companies with the goal of creating jobs and opportunities to our local residents and future opportunities for our younger generations so they do not have to leave the state and can be gainfully employed here in our communities. In addition to a ready workforce and educational attainment, these companies are looking for a site that can provide their utility infrastructure needs at a cost, competitive, predictable, and reliable environment. Utility cost fluctuation or ambiguity is not viewed in a favorable site when they are looking at a potential site. I recently hosted a large manufacturing firm in the solar industry that requires large amounts of natural gas, electricity, and water to operate their facility to manufacture the solar panel components. I had the opportunity to provide this company with the tour of the Quail Ranch area, right adjacent to the LNG facility site and the 3,000-acre large solar array that was mentioned earlier, as well as the existing PNM solar facility that's close by. The proposed LNG facility was mentioned to them, and it was viewed very positive by them as it would help ensure the predictable and reliable utility infrastructure they need to manufacture their solar panel components. In New Mexico, we celebrate companies that manufacture products here and export the items or commodities outside of our state as it brings new money into our state. However, sometimes we fall victim to exporting commodities and goods to then turn around and purchase those same goods back to New Mexico at a higher price. At times, this is what New Mexico Gas has been forced to do. This LNG facility would allow New Mexico Gas to purchase natural gas at a lower rate when demand is lower and have it on hand to help stabilize the price during the winter months when demand is higher and price volatility on the open market is more likely. This would allow economic development with construction jobs and permanent jobs. We can continue to force New Mexico Gas to spend some of those dollars via lease of space for the storage or paid jobs in another state, or we can have it benefit our local New Mexico residents. New Mexico has some of the most stringent environment requirements related to this industry that New Mexico Gas is already following, and I trust New Mexico Gas to continue to operate within the federal and state guidelines in a safe manner to service us, their customers, and New Mexico residents. I encourage you to support this proposed LNG facility. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Can we have another speaker from the room? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Wilson. First thing that strikes me is it's very strange to me whenever you're told to spend money that if you spend it, you're going to save it. I don't think the rate increases should be part of that. If they want to invest in it, they should invest in it somehow without charging all the residents, because then it becomes their storage facility that I don't think the residents seem to want. And I think Google got a good workout because I saw the same thing I looked at in just a few minutes. But I was just wondering, first of all, just dangers, and I've heard all the same words, pool fires, flammable vapor clouds, cryogenic impacts. And I'm like, wow, what are they doing? I'm sure they're held responsible for this thing if any of these things do or don't happen. So then I looked at other natural gas places have had to turn in for their liquid plants, and they have to have an emergency response manual as part of their plan, an unanticipated discoveries plan, a spill and pollution prevention plan, a noxious plant control plan, and then a spill consequences analysis plan. So yes, they're going to be covered because they're going to have all these genius plans that people in the past have said, this is what's important to know if and when there might be a problem. So I wasn't really caring whether this plant was in New Mexico. It seems like a good idea. Location seems a little weird to me that you're putting her right next to Albuquerque up on a hill above everything and people in the river. But what's really concerning to me is at the beginning of this whole process tonight, we heard the story on the slides from the gas company, and they're like, oh, we have these decade-long winter freezes that apparently kill a lot of New Mexicans. And so their answer is, we hired consultants. Consultants told us to build this. That's a weird thing to come from them. And like other people have said, New Mexico, even though the name New Mexico Gas Company is in the name, it's still a Canadian company. And the other companies they own are like in Caribbean islands. And I don't want them treating Albuquerque like a Caribbean island that's just stuck in a desert. And so my issue is really, I don't trust the gas company in New Mexico who's never done this before. All they're doing is laying pipe, trying to deliver it with leaking the least amount of gas possible to us. And now they're going to be experts, and then they're going to be competent, supposedly overnight, in running this facility. And so I think all the citizens that are using this and near it and have a stake in the game, they should ask, is the gas company going to be responsible for restitution and restoration if and when they have to face a challenge that they're not ready for or have never had to do? What about their liability admission? They're going to say, we've never had to face this before. And what happens is when things are so rare that when they happen, then the companies come back and go, well, we just never have to deal with it. We really don't know. We did our best. And it's more of an issue of who you're allowing to run this plant than even having the plant in my mind. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Let's take another person in the room here before we switch back to our Zoom participants. Is there anyone else in the room who'd like to speak? Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Renee Horvath. I live on the west side in Bernalillo County near the petroglyphs. And I'm with the West Side Coalition. And we recently learned about this proposal. And so we've been trying to quickly figure out what's being proposed and brought in speakers to hear the pros and cons of this plant. But the West Side Coalition is a coalition of 26 neighborhood associations, and we did have a vote that we did not support this proposal. The main, well, we do appreciate that they had the open house recently on November 6th. There's just a lot of concern of the risks associated with natural gas. And I know even at this open house, they said, well, we build things better. But you hear about these incidents across the country. It's still a very explosive type of gas that has created, huge catastrophes in other areas. And it's just always a risk. And people on the west side are going to be living next to that. And plus development is heading in that direction. I know you're saying you're out in the boondocks, away from everything, but you're not really. I mean, the airport is 2 miles away, as mentioned before. We've had airplane crash into those power lines, which is a half a mile away from this plant. We have the Trail subdivision only 2.5 miles away. We have Ventana Ranch, 2.5 miles, well, less than, about 2.5 miles away, along with Paradise Hills. And we have the Petroglyph National Monument, which is about a mile away, with the northernmost volcano, which is 1.78 miles away. So there is also, we are in a Rio Grande Rift. We do once in a great while have some seismic activity. And so, as I spoke to the people at the plant, they said, there is also the issue of off-gassing. Well, we tend to do that and the winds will take it. But usually the winds go from the west to the east towards town. And so people are concerned about it. A lot of people have asthma, and a lot of people I know have been exposed to other incidents over the years, their family members, like nuclear or chemical incidents that have affected their family's health and early death. So, with all these concerns, this is why you're getting pushback from the residents who are concerned about the impact. Some of the comments I've received, is this really necessary? And the other one says, New Mexico has a lot of land. Why so close to a heavily populated area? Can we find a better location if we really want to go that direction? Are there other options? So I just want to see if we can find other options that may be more agreeable to people and feel less threatened. So I just want to bring that up. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Rodriguez, let's switch back to Zoom and take maybe 5 people from Zoom.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can I get Stacy Slay to unmute and go ahead and speak?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Stacy, go ahead.
I live in La Plata, New Mexico, just north of Farmington in the Four Corners. And a lot of the discussion on the pro side, you hear people talking about safety and how things can be done and it won't affect the health of the population. And by the way, I'm 59 years old. I am. Oh, and thank you very much for your opportunity to speak here. I have a number of health issues, and the surrounding pipelines, wellheads, and petroleum industry has polluted my area to the point that we've got a bubble above our head that NASA can see from outer space very clearly. The question of whether or not this gas facility can be put near anybody safely is no. Even if they do everything perfectly, they make their pipelines, their storage, everything perfect, it's going to leak. It's an inevitability because of weathering, because of maintenance concerns. There's, geology, the earthquakes and so forth. This cannot be done. It is not an energy that it's past its time. We need to look forward to hydrogen and other things, but whether we look forward or not, this is a bad idea. There's a few people, follow the money. You'll see there's a few people going to make a lot of money from this, let alone the New Mexico Gas Company. And as Javier Barrera stated, why rate increase if it's such a benefit? But all of that political minutia aside, this can't be done safely. Natural gas is very dangerous. Producing it is very dangerous. It puts out all kinds of cancerous things, and you're going to sit that in the middle of this beautiful area. We should be tourism and natural beauty out the wazoo in this state, and all we get is a bunch of people trying to stick another gas plant right up our wazoo. This is not for anybody's benefit other than a few people, some P&Es, some people who stand to make a lot of money, and the rest of us, we pay with our lives. We pay with our planet. Stop the madness. You've got the facts. I've listened to all this testimony. You've got the facts. You know what the right thing to do is, and it's not to build a new plant that's already outdated. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you for your comments.
Next, can I have Nancy Singham? Go ahead and unmute Nancy.
Yes. Thank you, commissioners, for your time, for holding this hearing. My name is Nancy Singham, and I'm a retired kindergarten teacher. I live in Albuquerque near UNM across the river from you, and I've been following this proposed plan since it was first introduced. I'm speaking to oppose this facility being built, and I think the overreaching reason concerns what I see as its flawed assumptions and visions of our future here in New Mexico. Now, I'm 74 years old, so the future I'm talking about is not my personal one, but instead looking ahead 30 years to the future of the UNM students who spoke here today, and also of the middle school students I've been working with who are learning about the impacts of climate change in school. Now, the catch is that their future depends on what we do right now. If they are to have a safe and healthy future here in New Mexico, we today have to act to do everything we can to stop greenhouse gas emissions from warming our planet and impacting New Mexico's climate to the point where it will be too hot, too dry, and too waterless to sustain us. But it seems to me this plan is based on a vision of the future that will waste 30 years of time and money on increasingly stranded assets, and instead of investing rapidly in renewable energy. It's a plan that adds 30 years of methane fracking, pumping, leaking, and burning, adding more and more dangerous amounts of greenhouse gases instead of rapidly reducing those emissions. You probably have all seen the latest national climate report. It was published just last week, and it describes in detail, region by region, the climate impacts that we have felt in our country so far. It states clearly that while we are taking some good steps, we're not moving fast enough. It says that the first most urgent thing we have to do is to shift faster to stop fossil fuels and move to renewable energy. We have a chance right here right now to take an important step to create that positive future. And I urge you to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Diane Reese.
Thank you, commissioners. I appreciate your time and talent and the work that you do. And thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Diane Reese. I'm a retired Air Force officer, a Bernalillo County resident, and I'm also the chair of the Central Group of the Rio Grande chapter of the Sierra Club. So the Central Group, we have about 5,000 members in the central area of New Mexico, but the chapter itself, for the whole state, we have about 35,000 members and supporters. So I'd like to take a second right up front to say thank you to all the folks who are speaking. This is a lot of time on our part to come and make sure you hear our message. And I do hope that you listen to what someone noted. There's a lot of people here talking about our quality of life and our environment. These are residents. And then we also have a lot of business folks. And they seem to be talking about bringing jobs, and this brings very few permanent jobs and money. People have said somebody's going to make a lot of money on this. But I'm here to reinforce what a lot of folks have said, and that is our state and our nation as a whole really are moving away from dirty fossil fuels. We are, to say that LNG is the cleanest fossil fuel is kind of saying it's just a little bit of poison. You know, this is methane, let's be clear, and it spews some dangerous chemicals into our air. It's not good for our health. There's an extremely high cost with this to the environment, to us as taxpayers, but mostly to our children and their future. Someone said, you know, we're wasting 35 years on industry that is outdated. Please listen to that as you evaluate this permit request. We look to the PRC to make wise decisions. You have been selected to serve because of your resumes, your education, your experience. Please evaluate. Don't bring us these stranded assets that we'll be paying for. Look to the future. The Bernalillo County Commission met on this, representing their thousands of residents. They have gone on record to say they are not in support. They've heard from their constituents, they're not in support. You've received a letter from numerous state legislators, another group of elected individuals, and they're also asking you not to support this. A number of speakers have emphasized the severe weather. It's scary. They're bringing fear to the table. Severe weather incidents are increasing in intensity and numbers. And in other words, we are truly facing and experiencing climate change today. So we need sustainable, resilient, safe sources of energy, not more greenhouse gases. There's been talk of reliability. In 2021.
Please conclude your remarks, please. We're at time, I believe.
Thank you. I apologize. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak, and please don't support this request.
Thank you very much for your comments. And we have our next speaker from Zoom. And yes, if we can show the picture and the clock at the same time, that would be helpful.
Do my best, Commissioner. Thank you. Can I have Iris Gersh?
Okay, hopefully I'm unmuted. I've been aware of this for some time, and I know that most people would.
Do my best, Commissioner. Thank you. Can I have Iris Gersh?
Yes, I'm speaking. Can you hear me?
Iris.
Okay, hopefully I'm
Have it on YouTube. Can you mute the YouTube on your screen?
Oh.
Go ahead.
muted, so,
Yeah, go ahead.
okay. I'd like to express my opposition to the LNG facility and the amount of land that they're taking up. Also, the closeness to the Petroglyph National Park. And some, I believe, public schools are there. From everything I see, this fossil fuel is known for the danger it gets from leaking gas. And within a short time, it can, just because of like static electricity, it could start an inferno. And we all know that New Mexico does not need any more fire damage. So these methane clouds can also, these methane clouds can extend for miles. And with the hydrocarbons that are there, like the ethane and propane, this, there can be a higher risk of exploding. There's also the matter of training people who will respond to that. The LNG has unique safety risks, much as other fossil fuels do. So there would have to be more equipment and more special training. Another extremely scary thing for me is this is an endangered, reminds me of trucks barreling through with nuclear contaminants, that this too endangers our drivers here in New Mexico and all the communities throughout the state. The air quality issues are something that we can't not worry about enough. Our air quality is always changing from day to day. I'm hoping that people will resist this being set up into action. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you for your comments.
Next, gonna have Athena, and might be messing up the last name here, Christodula.
Yes, Athena Christodoulou. Can you hear me?
Yes, Athena, go ahead.
Commissioners, my name is Athena Christodoulou, and I'm an Albuquerque resident. As a teenager, I never rebelled. So why have I become a rebel as a grandmother? Trained as an engineer to find solutions for problems, I'm well acquainted with the math and science of the current climate crisis, well acquainted with the need to build in safety factors and strict project timelines to meet the deadlines within a budget, well acquainted with Murphy's and Moore's laws. Outright lies, roadblocks, and feet dragging baffle me, though. Make no mistake, Exxon and other oil companies knew, and our politicians knew. Former Vice President Al Gore recently stated that the fossil fuel industry was better at capturing politicians than emissions. In short, it seems that even with the entire global scientific community warning us about the need to immediately and drastically reduce fossil fuels, the establishment and industry desperately want us to continue to use these toxic chemicals and eventually kill my grandchildren's and yours chance for a livable planet. In addition, I am an energy and environmental engineer. Natural gas, i.e. methane, was touted as the bridge to renewables and being clean. The bridge is built and needs to be destroyed behind us as more wind, solar, and geothermal take off in gigawatts. And it is most definitely not clean. Fracked gas is the most dangerous greenhouse gas. Odorless and colorless, methane is 150 to 200 times a more potent greenhouse gas than CO2 in the short term. EPA and the fossil fuel industry have downplayed its potency and leakage rates for decades, enough to bring us to the brink of this climate catastrophe. How many Acapulcos, where a hurricane went from tropical storm to Category 5 in less than 24 hours with no warning it would even go past Category 2? How many wildfires choking our lungs and destroying our lands, or dry wells from droughts? How many before we act? In fact, fossil fuels emit almost 80% of the greenhouse gases causing the current climate crisis, and a good chunk of it is from methane, otherwise known as natural gas. In rebellion, I exclusively drive EVs and don't fly. I cook with electric and most recently reconnected my radiant flooring to an electric heat pump system that will both heat and cool my house. Pretty awesome. I made the pledge in 2017 to go fossil fuel free by 23, and phew, I made it. I am fossil fuel free. Maybe there is hope. If we're going to have a fighting chance to address climate change, maintain a livable planet, and save the human species, we need everyone and everything to reduce their fossil fuel emissions. All new fossil fuel infrastructure must remain unbuilt, including this LNG facility. We truly must leave it in the ground. But hurry, please. Our planetary systems seem to be spiraling downward rapidly. In conclusion, don't drill or frack for me, ExxonMobil. I'm a rebel with a cause. I'm against human extinction. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I think it's time to switch back to folks in the room at this point. Do we have any more? Yes, please.
Good evening, commissioners, and thank you for giving us within this community the opportunity to speak. My name is Elizabeth Haley. I am the president of the West Side Coalition of Neighborhood Associations. Our boundaries go from the Sandoval County line down about 3 miles south of Central, from the Rio Grande River to the Cibolo County line. We have 27 members, and we actually investigated this particular issue by inviting interveners to share information with us and by attending gas company presentations. Our members at the end of that voted, and the vast majority of them, 14, voted against approval of this facility. 1 voted for, 1 abstained because they weren't adjacent to it. We attended the county commission meeting where 4 out of 5 commissioners voted against support of this facility. And this facility is in Bernalillo County. It's not in Sandoval County. It's in Bernalillo County. I'm also the chair and an elected zoning commissioner for the Paradise Hills Special Zoning District. We are the zoning entity for that portion of Paradise Hills, roughly described by the Paradise Hills neighborhood. I have a master's in architecture and planning and have served on the faculty of the as an instructor of the New Mexico School of Architecture graduate program. And for many years, I was a consultant to the Department of the Interior on land review issues, leading interdisciplinary teams. One of the things that I wanted to bring up were questions that I had for gas company representatives. And because this was our field of concentration in my professional degree, in my professional practice, was to look at the redesign and decommission of both institutional and technical and energy installations. So one of the things that struck me about the cost estimate that is being put forward is that cost estimates are very often based on a regulatory framework. If that regulatory framework doesn't say that you should itemize certain costs, then they're not in the cost estimate. One of the problems that I think for this plant is that there are places like New York State that have very extensive cost estimate frameworks. New Mexico does not. We have an old regulatory framework that might not pick up the nuance. As a commissioner in Paradise Hills, I know that that whole part of the escarpment is several shelves of consolidated basalt. In between each layer of the basalt is sand. So if you have a leak of any kind, of anything, you never know where it's going to end up because it slides across the basalt layer And then it may go any numbers of places because the layers are erratic. When I asked the PNM representative whether or not they had done any kind of seismic review or looked at the geological framework that this thing was going to be put on, because when basalt has any kind of a tremor, whether it's naturally caused, a seismic tremor, or to blasting, it reverberates throughout that basalt. And it can
Please,
very often break up.
Conclude your remarks. Apologize for interrupting.
No. I just have one last thing to say. Even minor blasts to get through the basalt to install infrastructure or foundation supports can be felt in the foundations of all of the construction that is on that layer of basalt. The fact that they didn't look at it and haven't calculated it, or the cost of the eventual dismantling of this facility, I think is problematic. Thank you, and I'm sorry to go over time.
Thank you for your comments. Let's take someone else from the room here.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Zephyr Jaramillo. I'm 21 years old and I'm coming from the pueblos of Isleta and San Felipe, and I'm also a resident of Albuquerque, Bernalillo County. I'm here today to urge commissioners to oppose the LNG plant that is currently being proposed on the west side of Albuquerque, a place that I have called home for my entire life. Not only does the spending of $180 million on an unnecessary plant place an unnecessary burden on ratepayers by increasing the cost by $3 a month for the next 30 years, but the truth is that investing in fossil fuel infrastructure at this time is totally and completely irresponsible. Climate action demands no further investment in new fossil fuel projects. If this proposal moves forward, it is very likely that ratepayers will be paying for an abandoned plant down the road. Most of our community can't afford any utility bill increases, myself included, because we're already struggling to pay our current bills, and it would be a travesty to have us paying for stranded assets in the future. In addition to the financial burden, this proposal imposes dire risks to the health of my community. My younger brother is among the 63,480 residents with asthma, as well as half of my family being among the 42,466 of those living with heart disease. The approval of this facility will heavily exacerbate these health struggles. New Mexico Oil and Gas's proposal tells me that industry profit is more important to them than the wellness of my community. As an Indigenous young person, it is incredibly disheartening to have to plead over and over and over again for industry to stop harming our environment and our health. As decision makers, I hope that you recognize such imminent dangers, namely highly explosive gas that requires emergency personnel to possess specific training and equipment in order to contain it. I hope you'll do the right thing, and I urge you to please oppose this facility. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, commissioners. Quatzihopa, Wahenome Huaka, Quake Shashka Hanusta. My name is Jonathan Juarez. I'm from the pueblos of Laguna and Isleta, but I actually reside in Albuquerque as a direct result of environmental racism and industry pollution that rendered my home village back in Pewati dangerously toxically polluted at the hands of industry. I'm here today, as many others are, to urge this commission to vote against this facility. I was actually honored a little over a week ago to travel to be part of a New Mexico delegation of young people to Portland, Oregon for a national convening around fossil fuels. And in Portland, I was able to hear directly from other young people that live in places like Baton Rouge and Corpus Christi, where they're already dealing with the consequences of LNG facilities. I want to just stress and emphasize that these facilities are not safe. The young people that I met from Texas and Louisiana that live with these facilities in their backyards made it very clear that they are already dealing with dangerous consequences to their health, to their property, and that it is extremely unsafe and irresponsible for our decision makers to be pursuing fossil fuels at this time. I don't mean to, beat the drum, but I'm sure many of you should be aware that the latest IPCC report from the United Nations says that no new fossil fuel infrastructure can be approved. And that if we approve this project, we're guaranteeing that New Mexico will grossly exceed our remaining carbon emissions budget and fail to remain under the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold of warming. And so I implore you to follow the science and to follow the duty that you have placed on you to protect New Mexican residents over the profit of industry. And once again, please vote against this facility. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. May we have another speaker from the room?
Good evening. My name is Rafe Juarez, and I am an Army veteran, and I reside in Albuquerque. There are many ways that people could describe freedom or the feeling of being free. Freedom isn't expanding big oil and gas companies near our schools, residential areas, or public communities. It isn't our relatives and children suffering from illnesses and disease caused by those companies. Our communities aren't free when we're suffering at the government's expense. When I envision freedom, it's children running around asthma-free, cancer-free, illness-free. It's our relatives and elders being here to see their children and grandchildren grow up without the threat of pollution destroying their health. It's also our beautiful Mother Earth flourishing and thriving and not burning or suffocating to these industries. It's existing without the fear of militarization and the government continuing to colonize and take land from our communities for these projects. It's a government that puts quality of life over putting any more money into their pockets. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. May we have one more speaker from the room, and then we'll switch back to Zoom.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Enedith Lopez, and I am speaking today on behalf of Youth United for Climate Crisis Action as their policy campaign manager. YUCCA is a member-based, youth-led, and environmental and climate justice organization here in New Mexico with thousands of members and supporters across the state. I was born and raised in the International District, and given the environmentally racist legacy left on my community, I find it critical that our officials take interest in protecting our environment and our community's health. We strongly oppose the Namoga liquefied natural gas plant. The liquefied natural gas plant will further worsen the climate crisis in a moment where we need to phase out all fossil fuels in less than 7 years. Investments in fossil fuel development distracts and funnels our taxpayer dollars into stranded assets that could be allocated to community-owned renewable energy projects. A proposed liquefied natural gas project in Alaska is predicted to emit approximately 2.7 billion metric tons of greenhouse gases over its lifetime. LNG facilities are known to emit more greenhouse gases into the environment, such as methane, potentially exacerbating air quality issues in Rio Rancho and Albuquerque and the overall Bernalillo County. Personally, during the months where we experience weather extremes, it becomes difficult to pay my utility bills as prices are inflated. It does not benefit my community or myself to pay an additional $3 a month for the next 30 years, or a total of $180 million for this facility, knowing that this will largely benefit the fossil fuel industry. In what ways does this center justice for families that live paycheck to paycheck? And how does this center environmental justice? The youth of New Mexico deserve a fighting chance amidst this ever-growing and worsening climate emergency. And it begins by blocking investments in further fossil fuel development and protecting our environment and our community's health. The LNG facility poses a multitude of risks for the general public, including our safety, as a leaking gas can be ignited to and cause uncontrollable fires. This is completely preventable by simply not investing in this project. New Mexican youth can no longer afford the systemic commodification of our environment, our communities, and our future. Please support our communities in our vision of a just transition towards a regenerative economy. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Rodriguez. Let's go to folks from Zoom.
Can I have Dennis O'Meara unmute and go ahead and speak?
Good evening. My name is Dennis O'Meara. I live in Corrales, and I'm a retiree from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. I'm currently co-chair of a new nonprofit organization focused on the health impacts of air pollution called Clean Air for All Now. I have 4 points I want to make. First, if constructed, this facility will add to the burden of greenhouse gas emissions and to the air pollution in general being experienced by residents of West Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, and Corrales. Here in Corrales, we already have to contend with tons of toxic air pollutants from Intel, New Mexico that threaten health and longevity. We don't want any more. Second, this proposed facility, should it be constructed, will pose danger to area communities. Other presenters have spoken, and still others may yet speak about all the ways that such a facility could wreak havoc. The concern I wish to focus on is the possibility of an accident leading to an explosion and fire, which is not an uncommon occurrence with these sorts of facilities. Should such an incident happen during a high wind weather event, the results would be disastrous. Here in New Mexico, we can point to many recent examples of wind-driven fires and the destruction they leave behind. Point number 3 is that this proposal appears to be a solution in search of a problem. From what I have read, the issues that led to the natural gas shortage in 2021 have been addressed. And finally, our energy future is being defined by adopting things like electric vehicles, solar panels, storage batteries, and heat pumps, not more fossil fuel consumption. In conclusion, therefore, I, for one, am totally opposed to the construction of this liquid natural gas facility and urge you, the Public Regulation Commission, to deny this pending application. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight at this hearing.
Thank you for your comments.
The individual with the screen name Jan's iPad, state your full name and go ahead and speak.
Thank you. My name is Jan Cruz. I am a resident of Rio Rancho and a homeowner. I am speaking to oppose this proposal for many of the reasons people have already suggested. Health and safety, air quality concerns, as well as the issues related to potential leaks and the fact that this will be outdated soon. We are heading towards a more sustainable future, and we should be focusing on other types of ways to supply our energy needs that are renewable. Two other points that I want to make that others have not yet. I'm also concerned about the potential for sabotage of this plant. Just with power plants over the last year, there were over 100 incidents across the nation where there was attempted sabotage. And this facility could certainly also be something subject to that. I also am concerned about the issue that new regulations are over 42 years old and coming. And I wanted to just quote something briefly from an Energy Wire EE News article from last year from Professor Emeritus of Chemical Engineering at the University of Arkansas, Jerry Havens, who actually helped develop the computer models for LNG regulations. He says in that article that it's building a generation of LNG infrastructure that fails to properly account for the risk of a massive accident. At export terminals where gas must be chilled to minus 260 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what the New Mexico gas website says this will be. The production lines are rife with heavier hydrocarbons such as ethane and propane that present a higher risk of exploding. Our regulatory process is failing to satisfactorily consider fully the accident consequences that attend the operation of LNG export terminals that must be considered in the public interest. For these reasons, I oppose this, and I hope that the Regulatory Commission will deny this request. I do have concerns about low-income people and environmental justice, and having spent a career working on those issues. And I do hope that there maybe instead use the $181 million and $4 million every year to add money to the ratepayers and put that money into an account to help people who are low income to help pay for their bills, especially in times of crisis. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
I have the individual screen name Bob's iPhone. Please unmute and state your name and go ahead and speak.
Let's try someone else, Mr. Rodriguez, if
Sure. Next, can I have Emily Lucas and unmute?
Good evening. My name is Emily Lucas. I live in Southeast Albuquerque, and I am a member of Youth United for Climate Crisis Action. I strongly oppose the New Mexico Gas Company's proposed liquefied natural gas plant. The proposed facility would be within 4 miles of Volcano Vista High School, where my siblings graduated, and very close to the neighborhood I used to live in. Liquefied natural gas facilities can leak, forming a cloud of gas that can easily ignite even through static electricity. Pollution will increase due to the need to vent gases from the facility, and the American Lung Association has given Albuquerque an F for our air quality, so we can't afford another source of pollution. On top of these risks and health concerns, the proposed facility would end up costing New Mexicans at least $3 more per month for the next 30 years, forcing more families to choose between spending their money on energy or food. The proposed facility poses significant risks to the health and safety of our community and takes money out of the pockets of New Mexicans. In a time of climate crisis, it is unthinkable to fund more fossil fuel infrastructure. And as a young person, I urge you to invest in renewables, seriously address climate, and make our community more resilient.
Great. Thank you for your comments.
Return to the individual with the screen name Bob's iPhone. Please unmute.
Let's try someone else, Mr. Rodriguez. I think he's not monitoring his iPhone.
Yeah, Commissioner, that is the end of the list for Zoom comments.
Are we, have we finished the list for Zoom? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if you could send this individual a text or something that, you know, we're trying to allow him to speak here, and let's see if there are any more folks from the room here who haven't had an opportunity and who would like to speak.
Hello, my name is Joanna Strange. I am the field biologist for Albuquerque Open Space. So we co-manage the Petroglyphs National Monument next to the proposed plant, as well as I live in the neighborhood directly adjacent to the proposed plant. Sorry. On a daily basis, I'm watching our environment die and suffer because of the choices that are being made here. It's my life's work really to dedicate myself to conservation. As someone who works in this area on a daily basis, our animal populations, our plant populations are really suffering, adding to the pollution, adding to the environmental stressors to this area is currently causing huge damage. And to see more of that come in and damage what is sacred land to so many people in this area is really hard. And I'm not sure that we can continue to fight it as a community. So I ask that you please not allow this processing plant to go in. As a person who lives in this neighborhood, these are my neighbors, these are my friends, these are my family, having the children outside walking to school every day, having to breathe in those gases, breathe in the environmental stressors, all of the pollution is horrifying to me. These are the people that I rely on a daily basis for so much of my community. So having this come in and be a danger to them on a daily basis, something they have to deal with for the rest of their lives, particularly for these sensitive communities of children. We have a very large retired community in our neighborhood too. Adding this to their health, adding this to their financial burden really is of no service to anyone. So I do ask that you please oppose this plant and that you please put human value above the commercial profit that this would bring to a small few. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else from the room who would like to make a comment? And Mr. Rodriguez did the individual with the iPhone.
Commissioner, I sent them a note through Zoom. I have not heard back.
Okay, that's fine. Well, we may have to let him know that he can register to speak at an open meeting or send in written comments. If we don't have any more comments, I think it's appropriate that we conclude our public comment hearing. Commissioners Aguilera and O'Connell, would you like to make any comments or?
Well, thank you for all your input. As Commissioner Ellison noted, that we also accept public comment during our open meetings. Our next open meeting is on November 30th at 10 a.m. and it's in Santa Fe, but you could also offer comment through Zoom. Patrick Rodriguez is the right person to contact the day before if you would like to make public comment. Thank you again.
I'd just like to reiterate the gratitude for everyone who came here to share your point of view on this project. And then just to finish where I started, again, also thank you to Sandoval County for making this facility available to us. It's something as a commission we're trying to do is get closer to where the work we do has an impact. So thank you all for coming and sharing your comments on Zoom. And then also thanks to the PRC crew that is necessary to make this happen when we get out on the road. So thank you, Patrick and Miguel, and I guess Scott. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Anyway, again, I just don't want to step on the gratitude for the public comment. So, and thank you for running the show, Commissioner.
Well, I'd like to also say I appreciate everyone's taking their time out of their busy schedules to come here either in person or virtually and make comment about this proposal. It's extremely important to us to hear from you and to know what you think. It's been useful and enlightening to me personally. I also want to thank the PRC crew for being here. And again, the hearing on this will take place in January with a mid March decision expected. Thanks again, everyone, for being here tonight. And if there are no objections, I'll declare this session adjourned. Thank you.